Chapter 193. She must make the ugliest look for the boss's wife. Humph. Full of grief and indignation, when she was about to stand up, she thought again. No, if she made the boss's wife prettier, could she ask for a bonus from her boss? Yes, a bonus. Sunny jumped to his feet. He was in high spirits. Su Qianxi had no idea what she had experienced in less than 10 seconds. Seeing her frustrated and excited expression, she felt a bit strange. At that time, it was rumored that Sunny had a mental problem. She did not expect it to be true. What a pity. Noticing Su Qianxi's sympathetic gaze, Sunny did not know that she had been regarded as a psychopath. He cleaned, put on makeup, and styled her. When it was done, it had been almost an hour. Su Qianxi was a bit tired, but when Sunny moved away from the mirror and saw herself in the mirror, she was amazed. Seeing her expression, Sunny said proudly, "Oh, I'm so good. I'm so beautiful." Was this really her? The facial features were still the same, but with a little makeup, they looked more delicate. But it made people feel like they were two different people. Before makeup, she was gentle and lovely. Then after makeup, she was mature and intellectual. Beautiful, so beautiful that Su Qianxi almost suffocated herself. It was hard to believe that this person would be herself. Her hair was coiled up, and the hair on her forehead was combed up. A strand of hair hung down on both sides, curled into loose waves. Simple and elegant. "Come on, stand up." Sunny patted her twice, tidied up her dress, and whistled. Impeccable. Then, his eyes glanced at her empty neck and wrists, and finally fell on her ears. "You are just missing a few pieces of jewelry. Otherwise, you would be even more beautiful." "Jewelry, I have it." It was just that she did not like to wear it. "It doesn't matter. You can wear it without it." Sunny glanced at his watch with a smile. "It's almost time. I'll take you down." "To where?" "To your husband." Sunny was really looking forward to what her boss, who had always been cold and calm, would look like. Li Xiqing looked at the information she brought over and frowned. "That's it?" Qingyu nodded. A lot of things seemed to be deliberately cut off and disturbed. "I ran all over Kingstown and could only find these." The director of the orphanage recognized Madame as the woman from back then. "It is certain that Rong Xian is Madame's mother, but..." She took out a document and put it in front of him. "Mr. Song and Madame are not related by blood." "What about Xing Shiming?" Qingyu was stunned. "You mean, try it?" Okay. If that was the case, then it would be too messy. Song Yifan and Xing Shiming were good friends, and they both liked the same woman. That woman's daughter might not be Song Yifan's, but Xing Shiming's. "It's about time, boss." "Yes." The two of them walked out of the coffee shop one after the other and met an acquaintance at the door. Song Yifan looked at Li Xiqing with surprise in his eyes, but he quickly said, "Can we talk?" Li Xiqing looked at him calmly, raising an eyebrow. Chapter 194. When Su Qianxi was driven to the destination by Sunny, it was already 6 p.m. As soon as she got out of the car, she was surrounded by a lot of people. This was the first time that Su Qianxi had attracted so many people's attention. Although she was not a bad person, she still felt a little embarrassed. However, no matter how nervous she was, she had to be natural. Su Qianxi had a smile on her lips, light but just right. A little more flirtatious and a little less aloof. But at this moment, she was low-key and luxuriously beautiful like the girl next door, slender and elegant and devastatingly beautiful. Sunny watched enviously from behind, but quickly led her in. This was a restaurant under the sea. It was the first time that Su Qianxi had been to such a place. She walked up the stairs and soon passed through the long undersea tunnel. She was surrounded by romantic and deep blue, which was so beautiful that Su Qianxi was slightly dazed. Around her, there were fish constantly swimming. They seemed to have seen her, blowing bubbles and kissing the thick glass. Peaceful and romantic music overflowed, which was one of Song Yifan's most classic songs. Walking into the restaurant, the first thing she saw was a huge empty space with only one table. Blue and beautiful. The water rippled and rippled on her body, making her originally fair skin look even more flawless. On the table, pink candles were lit. Except for the light of the deep sea, there was no other light around. The sound of the piano became more and more soothing. The familiar melody seemed to be played by Song Yifan himself. The timbre was so real that she could not believe it. Sunny gently pushed her and said, "Mrs. President, sit down here. He will be here soon." Okay, however, before she knew it, Sunny was nowhere to be seen. Su Qianxi looked around and found that the light was getting dimmer and dimmer. She stood up uneasily, but before she turned around, she was held by a pair of strong arms. Su Qianxi was scared and subconsciously struggled. However, the arms were more powerful, and a low voice sounded, "Shu. Don't move." The familiar voice and the familiar qi she made Su Qianxi calm down and let out a sigh of relief. "You scared me." Li Xiqing seemed to chuckle behind her. Immediately, her hand was held by him, and his cold hand slid over hers. Su Qianxi wanted to look down, but his big hand pinched her chin. "Don't move." Next, the earlobe. His movements were a little rusty, but they were very, very light. He's giving her earrings? Su Qianxi found it hard to believe. Then, she felt a chill on her neck, and there was a heavy feeling on her ears and neck. The sound of the piano flowed slowly. However, at the turning point of the most familiar music, it suddenly became the happy birthday song that everyone was familiar with. The surrounding lights gradually lit up, and the rhythm of the piano gradually became cheerful. Then came the sounds of trumpets, violins, and harmonicas. As the lights came on, Su Qianxi looked around and saw an elegant middle-aged man sitting behind a black piano in the corner of the large space. Chapter 195. Today, Li Xiqing was dressed up, wearing a black tuxedo suit with a vintage pocket watch on his left chest. The chain was from left to right. He was tall and handsome. Standing in front of her, he was like a noble who had just walked out of the palace, incomparably dignified. Birthday? Su Qianxi was shocked. She really did not know that today was her birthday. Is it not? The date on your ID card, right? Li Xiqing frowned. God knows how long he had prepared for this, just to give her a surprise this time. Su Qianxi slowly shook her head and then nodded. Her eyes were slightly wet. I don't know. I have never had a birthday before. The date on my ID card was the day the director of the orphanage picked me up. Li Xiqing pursed his red lips and whispered, "This is your birthday. I will celebrate every birthday for you in the future." Su Qianxi looked up at the man in front of her, her heart racing. There was no expression on his face. He was so cold and calm that it was hard to believe what he just said came from his mouth. He was still himself, cold, noble, calm, and unapproachable. But why did he have to be so tempting? I will celebrate every birthday for you in the future. Every word was steady and powerful, and his voice was always cold. But when it came from his mouth, it was so passionate, so scorching. It was like a red-hot iron seal that was branded into the deepest part of her heart. In an instant, smoke billowed out, blurring her eyes. Her eyes were blurred. Looking at his serious and calm expression, she seemed to be sure and asked, "You just said, in the future, each and every." Li Xiqing's eyes were blurred. Yes, every birthday. His voice was firm, and his eyes were firm. Su Qianxi's heart began to race, and tears fell. She stood on her tiptoes, spread her arms, and threw herself into his arms. Li Xiqing was dazed for a moment, but very quickly, his cold face softened, and he held her in his arms. You said, every birthday. I said, every birthday. She had never dreamed that she would hear him say something like that and make a promise like that. Li Xiqing did not make promises easily, but once he did, he would not hesitate to go through fire and water. She knew that about him. She knew that about him too well. Her tears rubbed on his suit. She sniffed, and the bad habits of human beings were playing tricks in her heart. She looked up and met his deep eyes with her wet, black eyes. She asked cautiously, "Today is my birthday, right?" "Yes." "Then if I want a birthday wish, you will grant it, right?" "Yes." Hearing his response, Su Qianxi let go of him and looked at him timidly, like a child asking for candy. She whispered, "Then, you will only celebrate my birthday in the future, okay? Don't give it to other women, okay?" Li Xiqing was 188 centimeters, and she was 165 centimeters. She had to look up to him. As for him, he lowered his eyes and stared. Her heart was pounding. She knew that her request was too greedy. He was not her. She only had him, and he still had Tang Menjing, didn't he? She thought that he would not agree, or change the topic, or directly refuse. Chapter 196. It was just one word, but it was worth a lot. Su Qianxi burst into tears again and nodded. In the corner of the dining room, Old Master Li touched his chin with satisfaction. Xing Shiming, who was right next to him, was secretly anxious. He shouted, "That girl is too naive. Doesn't she know that it's better to believe in ghosts than to believe in a man's words?" Hearing this, Old Master Li glared at him and slapped him on the head. "Who are you calling a grandson?" Xing Shiming exclaimed, "Your grandson, your grandson. You are the grandson." Captain Li was very upset and glared at him. Xing Shiming felt like crying. Looking at the old man, he didn't know what to say. Old Master Li decided to ignore him and looked at his grandson's wife. Seeing that their relationship had improved by leaps and bounds, he was a little happy that he had deliberately tried to matchmake them. He said proudly, "Because he is my precious second grandson." Xing Shiming was confused, but he did not expect that Captain Li's words would come true. Many years later, when Xing Shiming talked to Su Qianxi about the past, she replied with a smile, "Because he is Li Xiqing." Because he was Li Xiqing, she believed him. The band around them accompanied them as they walked closer and closer. The band with blonde hair and blue eyes, each holding their own instruments, circled around them with happy smiles on their faces. The happy birthday song became more cheerful, but the sound of the piano gradually came to a stop. Song Yifan walked down from the grand piano and slowly walked up to Su Qianxi with a smile on his face. However, only he knew that the closer he got to Su Qianxi, the harder it was for him to maintain his smile. He was surrounded by unspeakable nervousness. This feeling was much more nervous than when he first participated in the international piano competition. Li Xiqing looked at him, and there was a glimmer of light in his dark eyes. Song Yifan looked at Su Qianxi's face, which was very similar to his lover's, and said, "Su Qianxi, today is not only your birthday, but also mine." Su Qianxi was shocked. Thinking back, it seemed that today was indeed the day. What a coincidence. Song Yifan nodded with a smile, hands in front of him, feeling unspeakably nervous. Even Su Qianxi could clearly feel his nervousness and was a bit surprised. "On such a day, can I ask you for a birthday wish?" "Me?" Su Qianxi pointed at herself, feeling confused. She looked at Li Xiqing. However, the man wasn't surprised at all. He reached out and pushed her slightly, as if urging her to agree. "Yes. All right." Song Yifan was one of her few idols. She was flattered that he would ask her for a birthday wish. Song Yifan's eyes became softer and softer. He said elegantly, "I have no wife or children, and you have no parents. Now that I am old, I also want a child to accompany me. Will you be my daughter?" His heart was in his throat. Be his daughter? Be Song Yifan's daughter? She stared at him and found that he was not joking at all. Looking at Li Xiqing, she found that he still looked calm. "You already knew?" "Yes." Chapter 197. "No." Su Qianxi interrupted him. Song Yifan looked up at her. However, Su Qianxi was silent and did not answer. It doesn't matter, Li Xiqing said. It's up to you. Are you my father? I am actually Rong Xian's daughter, right? Su Qianxi asked. Song Yifan was silent for a second and said, I don't know. He did not dare to know. He knew that Li Xiqing had a DNA sample, but he did not want to see it. He did not dare to see it. Su Qianxi looked at Li Xiqing and asked, Really? Li Xiqing looked at her and did not answer. Su Qianxi's eyes dimmed, and she hesitated. This is too sudden. Can you let me think about it? Okay. Song Yifan smiled. He did not directly refuse, which was his biggest hope. He was satisfied. Xing Shiming came over with a bottle of wine in his hand and said, Well, let's not talk about this for now. Today is your birthday. Let's open the champagne and celebrate. Then he pulled out the cork and spat out the champagne. Xing Shiming poured the wine into the champagne tower on the table and quickly filled it up. Everyone had a glass. Come on, cheers. Captain Li was sitting in the corner. Unable to drink or do any strenuous exercise, he was extremely bored. He sighed and looked at the computer screen in front of him. He said to himself, It's such a good day. Of course, I need to play some classic music to liven things up. He tapped on the screen a few times and decisively clicked on a classic oldie. The sound system was turned on and began to buzz. Everyone stopped what they were doing and looked in all directions. Su Qianxi looked around and finally found Captain Li in the corner. Smiling, she raised her glass and took a sip. The surroundings were elegant, the most romantic restaurant, and the tropical fishes were slowly jumping in all directions. It was quiet and beautiful. However, at this time, a joyous song immediately came from the sound system. Today is a good day. Everything you want can come true. Su Qianxi spat out the wine, and it all fell on Li Xiqing. Li Xiqing was speechless. Reaching out, he wiped the wine on his suit, but when he saw Su Qianxi laughing, he couldn't help but relax. He reached out and pulled her into his arms, letting her laugh and hit him as she pleased. Xing Shiming and Song Yifan also laughed. The festive music continued. Captain Li even grabbed the microphone and sang happily. Everyone looked at each other and smiled. The originally romantic and cheerful happy birthday song stopped. As long as you're happy, it's fine, right? Su Qianxi drank a little too much. Her cheeks were flushed, and she stumbled as she walked. He held her hand and walked out of the underwater restaurant. The cool sea breeze made her feel more energetic. Can you still stand? Su Qianxi stood up and shouted, Yes. His voice was loud and clear, and he sounded slightly tipsy. Li Xiqing smiled and reached out to hold her in his arms. He whispered, Then I will take you to see the stars. Okay. Su Qianxi hugged his neck and looked at his handsome face with blurred eyes. Look at the stars, the shining stars. Yes. Su Qianxi's hands around his neck loosened, and she slowly slid down. He wanted to catch her, but the woman was like a loach, slipping and slipping. In the end, she directly hugged his waist and buried her face in his. Li Xiqing's body stiffened, and a wave of heat spread all over his body. I don't want to go anymore. Hold me. As he said that, he felt hot. Su Qianxi clearly felt something on her face and patted it discontentedly. What is it? It's so hard. Li Xiqing's Adam's apple moved up and down, and his voice was low and husky. Get up. Chapter 198. Ouch. It hurts. Su Qianxi pouted. As her vocal cords vibrated, the hard object in front of her became more and more aggressive. Suddenly, Su Qianxi looked up, feeling wronged. Looking at the small tent that had suddenly been set up in front of her, she reached out her soft fingers and poked the most prominent tip. Li Xiqing felt like he was about to burst into flames. He pulled her up and growled, Behave yourself. Su Qianxi looked at him blankly. Seeing his fierce eyes because of his forbearance, she slightly opened her red lips and suddenly closed them. Pursing her lips, she said, "Why are you so fierce?" Seeing her like that, Li Xiqing felt a bit of a headache. Taking a deep breath, he lifted her up. Su Qianxi exclaimed drunkenly, slapped his back with her hands and cried, "Li Xiqing, what are you doing? I'm taking you back to sleep." No, I want to see the stars." "Stars? You said you would take me to see the stars." Sob. Li Xiqing stopped and put her down. Su Qianxi immediately sat on the edge of the beach and did not want to stand up. She looked at him with her mouth pursed, as if she had suffered a great grievance. With tears in her eyes, she sniffed. Li Xiqing felt his headache getting worse and said patiently, "Why are you looking at the stars when you're so drunk?" "I'm not drunk, not drunk." "Then who am I?" "Li Xiqing." "Wrong." "What?" Su Qianxi was dazed. Looking at his face, she asked, "Then who are you?" "I'm your husband." Su Qianxi was dazed and responded blankly, "Oh. Get up." "Okay." Su Qianxi got up from the beach. Her long red dress was lifted to her thighs. In the dim light, her skin was dazzling and exquisite. Li Xiqing's mouth was dry, and his lower body was aching. He felt a bit uncomfortable. Su Qianxi did not realize what kind of impact her inadvertent movement had on the man in front of her. Very obediently, she got up and asked, "Then are we going to see the stars?" "Fine. I'll let you see all you want." He strode forward, carried her in his arms, and walked into the room in the sea that they had booked. As soon as they entered the room, he put her on the water bed in the center. Su Qianxi's body was swayed, and she actually felt a bit happy. She swayed again and again, having a lot of fun. He washed his hands and patted his face, trying to calm himself down. Looking back, he saw Su Qianxi swaying happily. Her loose skirt had already fallen to her waist. Her two white legs were crossed, and her red high heels made her look even more charming. Damn it. He reached out and tugged at his tie. Unable to take it anymore, he pushed his way between her legs, held her head in his big hand, and kissed her fiercely. Being kissed so suddenly, Su Qianxi's eyes were blurred and slightly confused. However, as if she was unaware, she stuck out her tongue and hooked it on his lips. Holding his head with both hands, she climbed her legs around his waist and rubbed against him intentionally or unintentionally. The little flame that was already beneficial to the prairie was burning even more fiercely. Li Xiqing hurriedly took off his jacket, pulled open her shoulder strap, and took off the invisible bra in front of her. Chapter 199. This sound was like the sound of a bugle horn signaling the start of a battle. Li Xiqing's arms tightened, and he tossed and turned. After a while, she gasped and tightened her arms around him. "No, who am I?" Li Xiqing's low voice sounded in front of her. Su Qianxi's eyes were a bit blurred, looking at him with confusion. Seeing that she did not respond, he hugged her even tighter, forced her head up to face him, and asked, "Who am I?" Su Qianxi looked at him blankly, thought for a moment, and sweetly called, "Husband." "Who is husband?" "It's you." "Who am I?" "Li Xiqing." "Ah." Her chest was being sucked again, and her arms tightened around him as she screamed. "Good girl, relax. Don't kiss there. It's so itchy." "What about here?" No, what about here?" What about here?" Before she knew it, her dress had been half taken off, and her upper body was completely exposed. Su Qianxi's eyes were blurred. But damn it, Li Xiqing suddenly realized that this woman seemed to be losing blood. Su Qianxi did not notice it. Feeling that the man on top of her had stopped, she moaned in dissatisfaction. Li Xiqing pulled away and wanted to stand up, but found that his waist was held. "Hey. Fox." He pulled her legs away. "You did it on purpose, didn't you?" Su Qianxi heard that and chuckled, seeming to be responding to his words. Li Xiqing's eyes dimmed, but he did not want to stay any longer, in case he could not control himself and ran the red light. That would not be good. Taking a deep breath, Li Xiqing moved her leg away. When he was about to stand up, she reached over and grabbed his collar. Stepping back a little, Su Qianxi looked at the towering majestic view in front of her and blinked. He reached out and gently squeezed it. Well, it was hard. Su Qianxi blinked and was about to fall asleep again. However, he held her hand and gritted his teeth. You are too naughty, Su Qianxi's eyes widened, watching him take off his clothes. She asked blankly, what are you doing? Take off your clothes. Why are you taking off your clothes? Su Qianxi was shocked by the heat and quickly let go. She exclaimed and stepped back. Don't run. Li Xiqing's voice was a bit hoarse. You played with fire, so eat it. Ugh. No, don't eat it. Li Xiqing grabbed her, his voice full of temptation. Looking at her moist lips, his eyes became more enchanting, and he coaxed, be good, open your mouth, Su Qianxi's head was pressed and she struggled. Wan Lily, ugh, so dirty. Li Xiqing, sorry for the reader's ticket if I don't dirty it. Chapter 200. When Su Qianxi woke up, it was already dawn. However, the soreness on her cheeks was very clear. Rubbing her face, she felt that her neck was also sore. Turning her head, she found that Li Xiqing was nowhere to be seen. She had also changed from the luxurious red evening dress into a set of pajamas. Needless to say, Li Xiqing must have changed it for her. But, why was her face so sore? She got out of bed and walked to the door of the bathroom, which opened at the same time. Li Xiqing was still dripping water. Seeing that the person in front of him was obviously awake, his eyes darkened. Su Qianxi looked at him and blinked. Morning. It's not early. It's 10 o'clock. Ah, so late? Yeah. Let's get ready for breakfast. Okay. Her soft and obedient words reminded him of how obedient she was last night. His throat tightened, and the anger that he had finally calmed down was ignited again. Su Qianxi did not feel anything, rubbing her face as she walked in. After washing up, it was already half an hour later. However, Su Qianxi's face was still sore. At breakfast, Grandpa shook his head and said, "What's wrong with your face? You keep rubbing it." Su Qianxi also looked confused. I don't know. It's so sore early in the morning. Li Xiqing calmly cut the grilled sausage in front of him, put one on her plate, and said calmly, "Eat the sausage." Okay. Grandpa saw this scene and suddenly thought of something, coughing violently. Li Xiqing looked up and handed her a tissue. Don't think so much when you are old. It's not good for your health. Su Qianxi was a bit confused, looking at Captain Li and the calm man next to her. Obviously, she did not know what had happened. Old Master Li took the tissue and wiped the corner of his mouth. His face turned red, and he sighed. Young people really know how to have fun. Su Qianxi looked confused. What's wrong? What happened? Li Xiqing's cold eyes flashed a smile and he said, It's okay, eat the sausage. Oh, after breakfast, the three of them set off for the airport. Today was October 7th, the last day of the National Day holiday. By the time he got off the plane, it was already past 8 o'clock in the evening in Connecticut. After parting with Grandpa, he took Su Qianxi back to the villa. Nanny Rong knew they were coming home, so she prepared dinner for them. She didn't leave work until they finished eating. From the next day on, both Su Qianxi and Li Xiqing were busy at work. Li Xiqing was naturally busy with work, and Su Qianxi, wow, Qianxi, your dress looks so good. Is it a limited edition? Sigh, I've never worn it before, and I don't recognize what brand it is. Of course. Qianxi has always been low-key. She even bought dresses without any logos. If Mr. Li had not come to school to protect her, we would not have known that she was Mrs. Li, yes, too low-key. But sometimes, some things should be said to avoid unnecessary misunderstandings. What do you think, Qianxi? Su Qianxi looked coldly at the girls who used to ignore her, but now one by one surrounded her. Was he trying to flatter him? Chapter 201. Hearing their words, Su Qianxi glanced at the dress she was wearing and said, "My husband bought this for me. I don't know what brand it is." When she got home yesterday, she found her closet was full of new clothes. The quality and workmanship were all excellent. However, she could not recognize the brand, because it was said that it was all the latest products of an Italian designer. It was going to be released next year, and Li Xiqing had bought them all. Hearing that, all the girls looked envious. "Your husband is so good to you. I did not expect that Mr. Li, who looks so cold, would be so nice to you. Before he got married, many people said he might be gay. Now, the rumor is gone. Yes, and he is hosting a cocktail party for you. It must have cost a lot of manpower and resources, right?" Su Qianxi sneered inwardly, finally getting to the point. Although this was only a meet and greet reception for her, the scale was far larger than many company gatherings. With such an occasion, who would not fight for a chance to show up? Seeing Su Qianxi did not speak, some girls could not help but say, "Su Qianxi, I heard that you will invite a lot of handsome guys and pretty girls to the cocktail party. I want to go as well. Is that okay?" "Me too. I heard that the people going there are all very good. I have never seen the world, so I want to go. After all, we are classmates. You won't say no to me, right?" "Me too. Me too, me too." In the classroom, all the girls were gathered together, and Su Qianxi was in the center. Su Qianxi did not speak until the bell rang. "Let's go. The professor is here." The girls were a bit embarrassed. Such an obvious rejection made many of them look bad. Sure enough, the professor soon walked in. The group of girls dispersed in an uproar. After returning to their seats, they were all indignant and began to murmur again. "What's the big deal? Without Mr. Li, who is she? How dare she be so arrogant?" Su Qianxi heard that and sneered inwardly. These people had put in a lot of effort in the matter of keeping her as a mistress. Now that she had reached the top in a single bound, she wanted to climb up to them. However, he pretended not to hear it and focused on the lesson. Finally, the class was over. Su Qianxi's face was cold all the way. Many people gathered around her, but they felt that they were asking for trouble and dispersed. Walking out of the school gate, she did not ask Yang to pick her up today. Instead, she walked slowly along the path out of the campus. She saw a taxi coming, and it was now empty. Not bad. Su Qianxi smiled, waiting for the people in the car to get out. But unexpectedly, a middle-aged lady got out of the back seat of the car and grabbed her head. The attack came so suddenly that Su Qianxi could not react at all. He dodged backwards, but his hair had already been grabbed, and he felt a burning pain. Chapter 202. Many students who had just finished class looked over, especially when they saw that the victim was Su Qianxi. Many people were shocked. Isn't that Su Qianxi? Her husband is Li Xiqing. How could she seduce someone else's husband? Su Qianxi's hair was grabbed and she grimaced in pain. However, she did not learn judo for nothing. He stretched out his hand and gripped the lady's armpit, twisting it hard. Ouch! The rich woman screamed and involuntarily loosened her hand. Su Qianxi took the opportunity to pull her hair back and then kicked the rich woman in the stomach. The female students who were thinking about whether or not to help her all exclaimed when they saw this. No one had expected that Su Qianxi could beat someone so easily. The noblewoman was kicked to the ground. Her eyes widened in disbelief, and then she burst into tears. "Bastard, you stinking whore, you seduced someone else's husband and beat him up. I'll kill you." Su Qianxi saw the rich woman rushing over and sneered. She dodged to the side and reached out to grab the rich woman's fat hand. Pulling hard, she turned over and pressed the rich woman to the ground. Great! Cheers came from all around, and the upper-class woman felt even more ashamed. At this time, just behind the taxi, 2 luxury cars drove over, and several women rushed to Su Qianxi as soon as they got out. Su Qianxi vaguely felt something was wrong. She let go of the rich woman and turned to run. The rich woman yelled, "Catch the bitch!" Su Qianxi's heart skipped a beat. She was surrounded by several men. "What do you want?" "I don't know you." Those women were obviously good friends of the rich woman. They looked fierce and said, "It doesn't matter if you don't know us. I know you. You can do anything at such a young age. Why did you have to be the lover of a man who could be your father? How shameless." Su Qianxi's face became even darker and she yelled, "What nonsense are you talking about? Do you know who I am? Yes, the bitch who destroys people's families. Hit her." As they spoke, 3 or 4 women rushed over. Su Qianxi wanted to avoid them, but she was already surrounded. Having no choice, she looked at the man and woman not far away and shouted, "Help me call security. I am Su Qianxi." However, as soon as she said that, she was pushed hard. A woman directly straddled Su Qianxi and slapped her. "Ah!" Su Qianxi screamed and dodged, but she was kicked by another woman. There was no way for her to dodge. Of the 3 women, 1 grabbed her hand, 1 grabbed her foot, and 1 grabbed her hair. The lady got up, cried, and slapped Su Qianxi hard. "Damn it, hit me. I'll show you what I'm made of." The female students next to her saw this scene and felt a little scared. They wanted to help Su Qianxi, but they did not dare to. Some students went to the school to call security, while others began to call for help. Su Qianxi was slapped hard in the face. Her face tilted, and the phone in her pocket suddenly rang. When the rich lady heard this, she reached out and snatched her phone. She saw the caller ID, "Hubby." "Humph, so shameless," she said and picked up the phone. "Where are you?" The low voice was like a wine that had been sealed for thousands of years. Chapter 203. Li Xiqing leaned against the back seat of the car and said something on the phone. Suddenly, a roar came from the other side of the phone. With a cold look in his eyes, the originally lazy aura around him dissipated. Bang! The loud sound made Li Xiqing tense up. He growled, "Drive faster." The sudden change of his boss startled Yang, but he did not dare to slow down. He stepped on the gas and rushed forward. Su Qianxi was slapped again, and her face tilted to the side. "You are indeed very pretty. My old guy is head over heels for you. Not bad, right? Huh? How dare you seduce men?" The rich woman kicked Su Qianxi a few times. Su Qianxi gritted her teeth and did not say a word. Looking up at the fat face of the rich woman with heavy makeup, Su Qianxi's eyes were indescribably cold. And the one next to her, who was pulling her hair, grabbing her hands, and grabbing her feet, she would remember everyone's face. "What are you looking at? You shameless B***tch. I don't know you, let alone your husband." Su Qianxi's voice was a bit hoarse but terrifyingly calm. "You will pay the price." Her voice was cold and indescribably creepy. The rich woman was a bit scared, but she still spat and threw out a stack of photos. In the photo, a middle-aged man was holding a beautiful woman's hand and touching her breasts, smiling obscenely. And the woman in the photo turned out to be herself. "It's not me." "Not you? Open your eyes and look clearly. Is it you? Is it you?" The rich woman grabbed Su Qianxi's hair and asked fiercely. "What's going on? What's going on? Where did you come from?" The school's security guard finally came out and shouted. The rich woman ignored him and took out a stack of cash from her wallet, throwing it at the guard's face. "Get away from me. I'm doing something." The security guard was dumbfounded and quickly became angry. "What do you mean by this? Not enough? Another woman also took out a big stack and threw it at the security guard. Let me tell you, this is Fu Zetian's wife. She can kill you with a flick of her finger. The security guard's expression changed. Fu Zetian? A real estate tycoon who could shake the earth with his every move. He had been the richest man in Kingstown for more than a decade. In recent years, he had been pushed down by a new rich man. How could the wife of such a person beat up a student of his school? Should he intervene, or not? The security guard hesitated. The rich woman snorted, turned around, and slapped Su Qianxi again. Scream, scream. You don't even scream when I hit you. Aren't you very good in bed? Didn't you seduce my husband? Why don't you scream a few times? Let me learn a few moves. Ah. The rich woman's voice became fiercer and fiercer. She slapped her fat hand on Gu Nianji's hand insultingly and said filthy words. Su Qianxi bit her lower lip with blood on the corner. Looking at the rich woman, she sneered, facing a fat pig like you, no wonder your husband doesn't want you. The rich woman's expression changed dramatically as she roared, bitch. She raised her hand and slapped at Su Qianxi's red and swollen face. However, just when it was less than half a fist away from her face, her elbow was ruthlessly pinched. The sharp pain that felt as though it was about to break made her scream out loud. Chapter 204. Ouch! With a scream, the rich woman was thrown into a daze. She didn't feel well at all. Taking a closer look, it turned out to be a handsome guy who came out of nowhere. His aura was cold, and it was easy to tell that he was not an ordinary guy. Looking at his cold face, it was obvious that he was the one who hit her. The rich woman was not an infatuated woman. She cursed loudly, where did this pretty boy come from? You want to protect this shameless mistress, right? Hearing that, Li Xiqing's face darkened, especially after seeing the mess Su Qianxi was in. He could not suppress the anger in his heart. Stepping forward, Li Xiqing held her face in his hands. His eyes were cold and full of heartache. You are? One of the three rich women felt that Li Xiqing looked familiar, but she did not know where she had seen him before. Li Xiqing's sharp eyes glanced at the women who were holding Su Qianxi. The women immediately felt a chill down their spines and quickly let go of her. Without anyone holding her, Su Qianxi's body swayed. Li Xiqing immediately hugged her and held her in his arms. Feeling the familiar smell and taste, Su Qianxi's eyes suddenly became hot. Grievance flooded like a tide. Lying on his chest, she burst into tears. Honey, it hurts. Li Xiqing felt that his heart was being squeezed, and he was in a panic. It was the first time that she had called him husband and complained that it hurt. How could it not hurt? She was beaten like this. The anger, pity, regret, and self-blame in his heart all came at once. Holding her in his arms, he whispered, I'm here. I'm here. I don't even want my woman to cry. You guys. Very good. Li Xiqing suppressed the urge to beat the women up and whispered, Yang, call the police. Okay. Yang quickly dialed 110 and gave the address. The rich women were not afraid at all. The leading woman sneered, it was this little bitch who seduced my husband first. I was just beating up the mistress. I advise you to stay out of this. The police will give me some face. You know, my man is Fu Zetian. Li Xiqing chuckled coldly and said, then let's see if they are giving face to Fu Zetian or me. Li Xiqing? The college girl's husband is Li Xiqing? The noblewoman's friend was wavering. Everyone in Kingstown knew what kind of person Li Xiqing was. Even people like them, who usually didn't pay attention to the news, had heard about it. No matter how she looked at it, Li Xiqing did not look like someone who would fool around. However, the rich woman got up and saw her friend's reaction. She was furious. Pfft! How can you believe her nonsense? My friend has also been seduced. What a vixen. She's so capable. She's seduced two of the richest men in Kingstown. Who knows how powerful she is? Li Xiqing's eyes were even darker. Like a snowstorm, an overwhelming coldness hit her face. The noblewoman only felt a wave of cold air blowing on her face and immediately shut her mouth in fright. However, Li Xiqing lowered his head and said gently to Su Qianxi, "Honey, do you want revenge?" Su Qianxi looked up. Her hair was a mess, and her white and tender cheeks were bruised and swollen. Li Xiqing's heart skipped a beat when he saw her. Without waiting for Su Qianxi to answer, Li Xiqing had already carried her to the rich woman. Chapter 205. Li Xiqing would not answer her. Looking down at Su Qianxi, he said, "Just keep her alive. I'll take care of the rest." The rich woman's heart skipped a beat, and she was shocked. She knew that Li Xiqing was absolutely capable of that. The younger generation was selling Li Xiqing's name, and the older ones were selling the Li family's face. This was especially true for the Public Security Bureau. Their existence depended on the old General Li Sun's reputation. No matter what kind of power it was enough for him to say that. Su Qianxi sniffed and looked at the obviously frightened face of the rich woman. She jumped up and kicked at the rich woman's lower body. The rich woman screamed like a pig being slaughtered, which shocked her friends around her. When they were about to help, Yang had already stopped them. The school security guard also came forward. "Help! Help!" the rich woman screamed. Her expression changed drastically. "Help! Murder!" she screamed as she scrambled around in a panic. Su Qianxi saw that the rich woman was scared out of her wits and felt a bit good. Her face was burning with pain. How could she not take revenge? However, she was not in a hurry. Instead, she turned her head and looked at Li Xiqing. Li Xiqing was a bit surprised. Not fighting anymore? Dirty hands. She had a better way to deal with this woman. Just then, the police siren rang. After seeing Li Xiqing, they did not ask what happened and directly arrested the rich women. At the police station, after their statements were recorded, the rich women were each detained for 20 days. At 7 p.m. Holding a stack of documents in her hand, Qingyu walked into the living room of the villa. "Boss, I found it." Inadvertently glancing at Su Qianxi sitting on the sofa, her face was indescribably unharmonious, which made Qingyu very distressed. Su Qianxi did not care. She took the documents, flipped through them, and sneered, "It's really them." "You already knew?" Qingyu was a bit surprised. As expected. In addition to them, she could not think of anyone else who hated her so much that they actually photoshopped those photos to frame her. Qingyu shook her head. "I didn't expect them to be so stupid. Was the last lesson not enough? If people want to humiliate themselves, nothing can stop them." She put down the file and looked up. "What about those women? According to what you said, they have already been bailed out by their people without pressuring them." Qingyu said, but still couldn't help but want to ask, "Why? Those women bullied you so much. Why did you let them out?" As he spoke, he looked at Li Xiqing. Li Xiqing leaned against the sofa, looking confident. Instead of answering, he asked, "How's the thing I asked you to do?" "Well, it's all settled, but..." Qingyu hesitated and said, "Will it be too cruel?" She blinked and asked, "What did you do?" "Acquisition." When Qingyu heard this word, she silently added a few words in her heart, "Defeat them first, then buy them." It was a classic case of giving candy after a slap. The other party clearly knew what was going on, but he couldn't even fart. With such a huge turmoil, the Li Consortium would definitely be in the economic headlines tomorrow. Sob sob, the boss is really willing to spend money for his wife. Ah. Su Qianxi was startled. Then can you also buy Fu Zetian's company? It was fine if it was the other women's companies, since they were just clinging to the rich woman. However, Fu Zetian's foundation in Kingstown for more than a decade could not be destroyed so easily. Not now, but soon. Li Xiqing looked at Su Qianxi and slowly said, "It's all your credit. It's your idea." Su Qianxi looked confused. She just thought of a way to make the rich woman suffer. How did it become his idea to buy the Fu family's company? Chapter 206. The last thing a successful businessman lacked was socializing. Fu Zetian was drunk. When he was draining the toilet, he vaguely saw a black shadow flash by. He didn't pay much attention to it. He zipped up his pants and turned to leave. But all of a sudden, his head was covered by a black object. He choked on the tip of his nose and lost consciousness. When he woke up again, Fu Zetian opened his eyes and saw a delicate and beautiful face under him. Suddenly, a black shadow fell in front of him. A woman was straddling his chest. "Mr. Fu, you're awake." Ha ha ha. Fu Zetian had always liked to indulge in sensual pleasures, but the tigress at home didn't let him have his way. No man would be able to control himself in such a situation. Fu Zetian stared blankly. He didn't care what was going on. He laughed and hugged the beauty down. He flipped her over and enjoyed her wantonly. But there was a loud banging on the door. Fu Zetian paused for a moment, but then he exerted more force. The woman below screamed even louder. Her voice went through the door and reached the ears of the people outside. This was an ordinary motel. The soundproofing wasn't very good. The rich woman heard the loud banging and became anxious. She slammed the door with her body and the door opened. But the person inside didn't seem to have any intention of stopping. The banging sound was endless, followed by the crazy moans. When the rich woman saw that it was really Fu Zetian, she burst into tears. "You heartless man. You're really fooling around outside. Two at once. Why don't you *CK yourself?" Fu Zetian heard his wife's voice and was shocked. His body trembled. The rich woman was even angrier. She walked up and grabbed the hair of another woman who was silently guarding the side. She roared, "*TCH, how dare you seduce my husband? I'll kill you." The woman had been in this business for so many years. She wasn't a pushover. After her hair was grabbed, she bumped into the rich woman's face. Bang! The rich woman was knocked unconscious. She fell to the ground. The woman sneered disdainfully, "You can't keep your man, yet you blame him for coming out to whore?" The woman on the bed also climbed down to pick up the clothes before saying, "TSK, I thought you were tough, but you were scared by your own wife for less than 3 minutes. Boring." Fu Zetian felt that his dignity as a man had been challenged. When he wanted to grab the woman, she had already escaped. Fuming, Fu Zetian stepped forward and kicked the rich woman hard. "What are you doing here?" The rich woman cried out in pain from the kick and cried, "You heartless bastard. I've been waiting for you at home for so long. I didn't expect you to be playing with women here." "What's wrong with playing with women? I've had enough of facing a fat pig like you every day." Fu Zetian was even more furious when he thought of his embarrassment just now. "Damn it, you only know how to hold me back. I'm so unlucky to marry you." The rich woman burst into tears. Son of AB*TCH, son of AB*TCH, the sound of crying and screaming came from the computer screen. Su Qianxi heard the cry and felt very sympathetic. "Wan Lily, give her what she's most afraid of." Su Qianxi, "No problem. No problem." Chapter 207. The rich woman burst into tears. Son of AB*TCH, son of AB*TCH, the sound of crying came from the computer screen. Su Qianxi heard the cry and felt very sympathetic. No wonder the woman was so hysterical after meeting such a man. The camera was from a first-person perspective. Fu Zetian's foot could be seen from the bottom of the rich woman's handbag. From that angle, Fu Zetian's foot could be seen. Suddenly, there was a scream on the computer screen, and the camera suddenly changed to black. The rich woman's scream and the sound of the man hitting someone were very eye-catching. The next day, this video appeared on Weibo. All the social media accounts spread it as fast as lightning. Fu Zetian would never have thought that his wife would post his behavior on Weibo. On the same day, Fu Zetian had a huge and irreparable hole. On the same day, Fu Zetian's cooperation was cancelled by the major shareholders, resulting in a loss of nearly 10 billion yuan. The next day, Fu Zetian's door was surrounded by reporters. All the headlines began to report the current situation of Fu Zetian. Netizens all speculated that Fu Zetian was at the end of his rope. Everything soon reached Tang Mingqing's ears. Tang Mingqing knew what was going on. However, the more she knew, the more uneasy she felt. The bell rang. Tang Mingqing hurriedly put away her bag and rushed to the classroom. Li Weiya happened to walk out of the classroom next door and stopped her. Mingqing, wait a second. This is for you. Tang Mingqing stopped and turned around. Li Weiya was holding a gift box in her hand. Opening it, there was a beautiful watch inside. Tang Mingqing was surprised. For me? Yes. Li Weiya raised her hand. I have one too. My second cousin gave it to me. It's a pair. She asked me to give it to my best friend so that we can be good friends for the rest of our lives. Hearing that it was a gift from Su Qianxi, Tang Mingqing's smile froze. She said, never mind. I don't want it. Her things, but this is a symbol of good friends. I don't want to give it to anyone else. Please take it. Seeing Li Weiya's pleading expression, Tang Mingqing nodded helplessly. Li Weiya smiled happily and put the watch on Tang Mingqing's wrist. Never take it off. Let's go eat together tonight. Okay. Finally getting rid of Li Weiya, Tang Mingqing hurried home. Tang Mingqing had been staying at home ever since she was asked to resign by the Li family. As soon as Tang Mingqing got home, she pushed Su Qianxi into her room and asked mysteriously, Sister, have you seen the news? Yes. I did not expect Li Xiqing to be so cruel this time. He just slapped Su Qianxi a few times and almost bankrupted the Fu family. Hearing that, Tang Mingqing panicked. What should we do, sister? If Li Xiqing finds out that we sent the photos to that old woman, we will die even more miserably. What's the rush? We won't be able to find anything. Tang Mingqing was confident and sneered. I can abort her child without anyone suspecting me. As long as you don't expose it, who will know? But, no buts. Be smart. Su Qianxi, that bitch. So what if the old man likes her? Qin Shuhua likes me. When the old man dies, we'll have plenty of good days ahead of us. Chapter 208. Su Qianxi put on her headphones and listened to what was going on over there. When she noticed that Li Weiya had given the watch away, she curled her lips and typed quickly on the keyboard. It was Louis Han in the chat box. Su Qianxi, let me know if there is any news. Louis Han, give me 10 minutes. 10 minutes wasn't long, but it wasn't short either. When Louis Han called, she heard Tang Mingqing's confident words. Her hands slightly trembled. The phone fell to the ground with a thud. I can abort one of her babies without anyone suspecting me. Subconsciously putting her hand on her flat belly, she felt her heart tremble. Tang Mingqing had aborted her baby? What happened to Coach Jean last time was really her doing. To think that she had thought that humans were born with a good nature. Louis Han had wanted to leave her a way out, but now, it was not necessary. No one answered, so Louis Han popped up in the chat window and sent a question mark. Su Qianxi, did you find it? Louis Han, let's talk on the phone. The phone rang again, and Louis Han's first sentence was, yes. Su Qianxi's heart sank and she nodded. I traced Tang Mingqing's IP address and found that she has 3 numbers. One is for work, one is for personal use, and one is often turned off, but it just turned back on. I traced it and found the IP address and number of the other party. Tang Mingqing's shooter. Where is that person? I am not sure yet, but what happened to Coach Jean must have something to do with her. I guess she will do something big next. Didn't you use the listening device I gave you? Did you hear anything? Well, keep an eye on it. I don't think it is that simple. On the other side of the phone, Tang Menjing was still talking. Su Qianxi was multitasking. Suddenly, Tang Menjing's tone changed, attracting all of Su Qianxi's attention. She said, "So what? If I can't get her this time, I will wait for the next time. Didn't the old man give her a press conference? Then I will do it. At that time, I will give them a big gift." Haha. I have not used my trump card yet. What does that idiot Su Qianxi have to compete with me? What gift? Tang Mengqing asked curiously. You will know when the time comes. Tang Menjing did not intend to answer. Suddenly, the phone rang. Tang Menjing said, I have to take a call. You go out first. Tang Mengqing went out, and there was no more sound from the bug. Su Qianxi panicked and yelled into the phone, Quick, track Tang Menjing's call. Luihan replied casually, I'm following. I'll give you the recording. A few minutes later, Luihan's voice came. She asked anxiously, How is it? Luihan hesitated, and his voice became hesitant. I heard it, but you have to calm down first. This news may not be good. What did they say? They're meeting tonight. And then? What is the bad news? Luihan was silent for a moment and stammered, Well. Is Mr. Li here? The second time, Mr. Li. Su Qianxi was keenly aware of the change in the way Luihan addressed her. Usually, he called her husband. What happened? Tell me. Chapter 209. Su Qianxi felt a little uneasy, and she was ready to bear all the bad news. However, she could not imagine what kind of news Tang Menjing could have that made Luihan so cautious. Subconsciously holding her breath, she waited for Luihan's words. In the end, Luihan still couldn't bear to say, That woman is pregnant. Boom. Su Qianxi felt her ears ringing as if something in her brain had suddenly collapsed. Luihan was silent, and so was Su Qianxi. After a long time, Su Qianxi suddenly came back to herself and said firmly, Impossible. Luihan was silent for a moment and sent the recording over. Su Qianxi trembled and touched the touch panel of the laptop, wanting to open it, but her heart was trembling. Impossible, impossible. Clearly, Tang Menjing was not pregnant in her previous lifetime, right? Clearly, Tang Menjing did not announce the news of her pregnancy at all, did she? And, with Tang Menjing's personality, she should have announced it, shouldn't she? Yes, it was absolutely impossible for her to be pregnant. Su Qianxi forced a smile and said, It can't be Li Xiqing's, right? Luihan could not bear it and sighed. Silence was better than words. Su Qianxi's heart tightened. She downloaded the recording and heard Tang Menjing's voice. 7:00 in the evening, the same place. Oh, there's a new task again? What, this time it's Li Xiqing's woman again? Humph, why do you care so much? You'd better watch your mouth, or I can get all the money back. Why do you care so much? What do you want to do this time? How much? Let's talk face to face. And, on the video I asked you to make, you need to add something. Add what? I want to post the news of my pregnancy. Ah. You're really pregnant? Yes, Li Xiqing's. The voice was sweet, happy, and gentle. Hearing this, Su Qianxi could not bear it anymore, and her hands were a bit weak. In her mind, the ambiguous voice that had been lingering in her ears for the past 2 months sounded. Calculating the time, it should be more than 2 months now, which was the time to protect the baby. Thinking of the passion and eagerness he had shown her in the past few days, was it because Tang Menjing was pregnant that he used her as a substitute? Su Qianxi's brain was terribly empty, and her heart hurt terribly. She shouldn't think too much. She didn't want to think too much, but her thoughts couldn't help but be excited. In the end, it was her turn to cry. Li Xiqing came back from work and squeezed into the bedroom. Because their relationship had improved in the past few days, he dragged her directly to the master bedroom to rest. This time, she was still sitting in the master bedroom. Entering the door, Su Qianxi was sitting in front of the computer with her back to the door. She seemed to be in a daze. He hugged her from behind, buried his face in her neck, and whispered, "I'm back." But when he took a closer look, he saw that there were obvious new tear stains on her pink and tender face that had almost recovered. What happened? Li Xiqing glanced at the screen on the computer, but only had time to see it was Louis Han's window, and Su Qianxi closed it. Li Xiqing's eyes darkened, pretending not to see it was Louis Han, and said as if nothing had happened, "Today, I will help you move all your things here." Her things were still in the second bedroom. They were husband and wife, so they should live in the same room, right? Chapter 210. Su Qianxi resisted his hug. Taking his hand away, she stood up. It was still the same face, the same look. However, when she thought that he was facing another woman the same way, she couldn't help but feel disgusted. "Let's wait for a few days." Before she finished, Li Xiqing understood what she meant. He was a little dissatisfied, but seeing her look, he reached out to wipe away her tears and nodded considerately. "Mr. Li," Su Qianxi looked up, but seeing his cold and deep eyes, she swallowed the question that was on the tip of her tongue. Should she ask? Should she? Could she? Seeing that she wanted to say something, Li Xiqing was curious and looked at her in confusion. She bit her lower lip and asked in a low voice, "How do you feel about Tang Menjing?" Li Xiqing arched an eyebrow. "The neighbor's sister." "That's it?" Su Qianxi looked at him with a complicated look. Her eyes were wet, and she couldn't tell what she was feeling. "Yes." "Oh, liar, liar, if he really thought of her as a sister, would he sleep with her? If he really thought of her as a sister, would he have children with her?" That night in both her previous and current life was a thorn in her heart that she could not get rid of. She could not get rid of it, but the pain was excruciating. Su Qianxi did not feel very good, and her eyes were slightly red. "What's wrong?" Li Xiqing looked distressed. He raised his hand, wanting to hold her in his arms. Shaking her head again and again, she stepped away from him. "Let's go eat." She turned around and walked out of the room. Li Xiqing paused and looked at the bare desktop of her computer, his eyes cold and deep. On the bed, Su Qianxi's cell phone rang, and the caller was Ihan. Seeing the name, Li Xiqing's heart sank even more. Combined with Su Qianxi's attitude, it was clear what she meant. She was still pestering Louis Han. When she was in the Maldives, she still pretended to be with him. Now that she was back in China, she wanted to get rid of him, right? So, she was tired of looking at him now, right? Anger surged in his heart, but he quickly warned himself to calm down. Trust her, trust her. However, after hesitating, he still picked up the phone without saying anything. "Qianqian, I got it. That woman and the shooter are going to meet at an abandoned factory in the east of the city at 7 p.m. It's almost 6 p.m. now. Ask Mr. Li to send someone there." "What do you mean?" His voice was low and deep, as if it was laced with ice. Hearing Li Xiqing's voice, Louis Han was overjoyed and briefly explained what had happened. However, after thinking about it, he still did not tell Li Xiqing that she already knew about Tang Menjing. Even so, Li Xiqing's aura became even colder. "So, if we send someone over now, we might be able to find out what they are up to. It would be best if we can take a picture of it as evidence." "Mr. Xiqing, Li Xiqing," Su Qianxi said. Louis Han's enthusiasm was extinguished, and he hung up the phone in embarrassment. Lu Qianxi, Su Qianxi asked, "Su, and Su. Chang, he say." Su, Xian asked, Li, she asked. Said. Chapter 211. The usual place? The usual place she and Louis Han went to was the coffee shop. However, what was so important that he needed to talk to her face to face? Su Qianxi frowned, stood up, and went back to her room to get her phone. Li Xiqing stood in front of her, his eyes cold. Where are you going? To ask him what's the matter. Let's eat first. But what if it's an emergency? Su Qianxi was about to walk away. Li Xiqing pursed his lips, reached out, and grabbed her hand. His cold eyes seemed to be raging, but when she looked closer, he was calm. He said, he asked me to send someone to the warehouse on the east side of the city. Hearing that, Su Qianxi's eyes flashed with sharpness. Have you found Tang Menjing's meeting place? Li Xiqing narrowed his eyes and nodded. Su Qianxi was silent for a moment. Seeing his obviously colder face, she said, Li Xiqing. Li Xiqing? Li Xiqing looked at her, and his lips gradually curled up. Do you need me to remind you who you are, Mrs. Li? Su Qianxi's dark eyes met his even colder eyes, feeling a bit nervous. She was still afraid of him. The fear deep in her bones would not disappear just because he was nice to her. Su Qianxi suddenly felt a bit weak. She plucked up her courage and looked straight at him. I think I have found out who killed my child. My child. Not our child. Li Xiqing's hands slightly tightened, and his eyes were sharp. Your child is not mine. Feeling the pain, she frowned and wanted to break free, but he held her firmly. Tell me, isn't it? Seeing her frown, Li Xiqing suddenly had a crazy idea. The miscarried child was very likely not his. Su Qianxi felt humiliated by his question. He was suspecting her. A surge of anger surged in her heart, and her breathing became rapid. Staring at his cold face, she sneered, I am not as despicable as you, who would do anything. Let go. I'm cheap. He gritted his teeth and held her even tighter. How dare you call me that? Su Qianxi was horrified and blurted it out in a fit of anger. But now, Su Qianxi was so shocked that she trembled slightly, and her eyes were red. She shouted, Isn't it? You are married. Why did you sleep with another woman? Aren't you a bitch? Her voice was hysterical, and she was choking with sobs. Li Xiqing was dazed by the roar, and the coldness on him eased a bit. She thought he felt guilty and almost suffocated. Biting her lower lip, she stared at him with red eyes. Nanny Rong came in after putting away the clothes. Seeing the two of them fighting, she was shocked. What's going on? He waved his hand, indicating that it was fine. Looking at the angry woman in front of him, he calmed down and asked, What makes you think that I slept with another woman? She looked up at him, her eyes slightly red. If not, then where did that child come from? With Tang Menjing's obsession with Li Xiqing, it was impossible for her to have sex outside. If he did not sleep with her, then where did her child come from? Su Qianxi did not speak. Li Xiqing took a step closer, his eyes sharp and serious. If I tell you that you are my first and only woman, would you believe it? Would you believe it? Chapter 212. Hearing that, Su Qianxi was dazed. His eyes were dark, deep, and intense. They were so serious that she almost wanted to blurt out, I believe you. However, she knew. Impossible, that's impossible. He was 26 years old this year, the age of youth. Was that the only time he had ever had sex with her? Did Tang Menjing like him so much, and he had never responded? Su Qianxi's eyes flickered, looking extremely complicated. However, seeing her eyes, Li Xiqing's heart suddenly sank. She did not need any answer. He had already seen it. She did not believe him. Seeing the cold atmosphere, Nanny Rong hurried over and said, Second master, second mistress, let's eat. You will have the energy to fight after eating, right? Fight? Are they having a quarrel? Su Qianxi looked away, took her hand back, and went upstairs. Li Xiqing looked at her back as she walked away. His eyes were burning, and he followed her. Knowing that he was behind her, Su Qianxi walked faster into the master bedroom and immediately locked the door. Leaning against the door, tears of grievance flowed down her cheeks. Why didn't she ask? Why didn't she tell him? When Tang Menjing was pregnant, she could have just asked him face to face. However, she did not dare. What if he directly turned around to look for Tang Menjing? What if he directly told her that the one he liked and loved was Tang Menjing? What should she do? She was so scared that she did not have the courage to say it out loud. About 10 minutes later, she grabbed her phone and computer, stood by the door for a moment, and was about to go out. However, as soon as she opened the door, she felt a gust of cold air. Li Xiqing was standing at the door with a cold face. She was shocked and wanted to close the door, but he had already squeezed his way in. She stepped back, and he approached her. Forcing her into the corner, Li Xiqing looked down at the computer in front of her and threw it on the bed. Then, he put his hands on the side of her body and looked down at her. Su Qianxi's eyes were slightly red and swollen. Obviously, she had just cried. Li Xiqing felt strange. She had put the blame on him. He had not cried yet. Why was she crying? Looking even colder, he lowered his voice and tried not to look angry. Why don't you believe me? Why didn't she believe him? Why didn't she believe him? Su Qianxi's heart suddenly tightened, and the feeling of soreness hit her like a tide, wave after wave. Why should I believe you? I am your husband. But, I am not the only woman you have. She smiled with difficulty, but this smile had been corroded by sadness and grievance. Li Xiqing's eyes became cold, and he lowered his head to capture her lips. She turned her head to avoid his lips and let him kiss her on the cheek. Tasting a mouthful of salty tears, Li Xiqing licked the tip of his tongue and tried more. From her face, he slowly kissed her eyes, her eyebrows, and the tip of her nose. Finally, his big hand straightened her face and slowly landed on her lips. However, Su Qianxi pursed her lips tightly and refused to let go. More and more tears flowed down, unscrupulous. Let me tell you a secret, he said in a low voice. She looked at him from the corner of her eyes. Chapter 213. His heart skipped a beat. Su Qianxi opened her tearful eyes and looked at him. Li Xiqing wiped away her tears with his slightly calloused hand and said, "But why do you suspect me? Why do you suspect me?" There was a hint of bitterness in his voice. Indistinctly, his resentment soared to the heavens. He was not angry. He was just resentful. Resentful that she did not believe him and suspected him. Su Qianxi's tears fell even harder. She choked and said, "Then. Why Tang Menjing?" Li Xiqing's heart sank and asked, "That woman again? What did she say to her?" That was why his little wife was so suspicious of him. Su Qianxi saw his unkind face, and the determination in her heart seemed to be shaken at that moment. It seemed that he did not have the kind of feelings for Tang Menjing that she had imagined. Otherwise, how could he have such an expression? Li Xiqing noticed her hesitation, leaned closer and whispered, "What did she say?" If Tang Menjing said it to her face, Su Qianxi would definitely not believe it. However, the news was eavesdropped on her own. Plus the phone call that night, "She is pregnant." Li Xiqing heard that, arched an eyebrow, and suddenly sneered in a low voice, "So soon? Didn't she say that she loved him so much that she could not extricate herself? After returning from the business trip, she even threatened to marry him. At that time, he could not stand it and asked her to leave. Now, in less than 3 months, she was pregnant. Su Qianxi gritted her teeth, feeling even more empty. She looked up and asked, "You admit it?" "Admit what?" Li Xiqing asked and suddenly realized something. "You think that the child is mine?" Seeing his calm look, Su Qianxi suddenly felt suffocated. Liar, liar. It was obviously his. Why did he pretend to be innocent? She said it herself. "The child is yours." Li Xiqing curled his lips and approached her, saying, 80% of the women in Kingstown want to have children with me. Her eyes widened, unable to believe that such shameless words came out of his mouth. Li Xiqing leaned closer and said hoarsely, she tried to seduce me more than once, but unfortunately, I couldn't get hard with her. Can't get hard for Tang Menjiang? But to me, he's in heat everywhere. How? How could it be, you? Su Qianxi stuttered. Blushing, she lowered her head, a bit upset. Aren't you? He pressed her against the wall and whispered, I only have this feeling for you. Su Qianxi, I want to have children with you. Su Qianxi was even more flustered. She wanted to push him away, but found that he did not move at all. When she looked up, her lips were firmly pressed against his. She didn't have the slightest bit of defense before he attacked her. All of her weapons were destroyed, and he was forcing her to lay down her arms and surrender. Li Xiqing put his right arm around her waist, picked her up, and pressed her down on the bed. Wan Lily, hey, Qianqian, you're so easy to coax. Su Qianxi thought. He's so charming. I can't take it. Chapter 214. With their hot breaths intertwined, Li Xiqing buried his face in her neck and kissed her passionately, gradually moving down. The tingling sensation made Su Qianxi's whole body tense up. Even her pink toes curled up. Did he leave? Li Xiqing suddenly asked, looking up at her with some desire in his eyes. Su Qianxi was confused and blinked. Li Xiqing did not answer but moved his hand down. Su Qianxi immediately understood, shrank her neck, and nodded with a blush. Just yesterday, a trace of satisfaction flashed in his cold eyes. When he was about to move again, someone knocked on the door. Nanny Rong's voice came, Sir, Madam, let's talk nicely. Don't fight. Su Qianxi heard that and blushed even more, feeling ashamed. They were just quarreling a moment ago, and now, they ended up on the bed. Ugh, so embarrassing. Seeing her embarrassed look, Li Xiqing chuckled and sucked on her exposed neck, leaving a mark, and reluctantly said, I'll go open the door. Su Qianxi put her hand on her neck. When he got up, she immediately hid under the blanket. Nanny Rong was worried. The couple had only been together for a few days, but they were already quarreling. As elders, they were worried sick. Although Su Qianxi knew that Li Xiqing would not do anything to a woman, she was still worried that Su Qianxi might say something mean and make him angry, and then, anxious, Nanny Rong couldn't help but knock a few more times. First, before she finished, the door was opened. Li Xiqing's cold face was suddenly radiant, his eyes blurred, and even his neat hairstyle was a bit messy. Li Xiqing's face was cold and expressionless. His eyes were blurred, and even his hair was a bit messy. What's wrong? Li Xiqing's voice was a bit low and depressed. Nanny Rong was experienced. She knew what was going on with one look. Blushing, she immediately looked away and said, You haven't eaten yet. Don't be too late. Hearing Nanny Rong's words, Su Qianxi was even more embarrassed. Ah. Nanny Rong must think that she was being too casual. They were just fighting. Moreover, the source of the quarrel was him. She got up from the bed, tidied herself up, and was about to go out. Li Xiqing had just closed the door again. Turning around, he saw the woman trying to escape. Pressing her against the wall, he couldn't hide the lust in his eyes as he whispered, Where are we going? Hungry. He stared at her like an eagle looking at its prey. Licking his lips, he said, I'm hungry, too. As he spoke, his cold eyes were filled with hunger. Su Qianxi was so naked that she turned her head away in embarrassment. When he said he was hungry, did she really mean the same thing? Why did she feel so horrified? At that moment, Li Xiqing's phone rang. It was the detective sent by Qingyu. Boss, the hunter has arrived at the destination and is waiting for orders. Hunt. Yes. After hanging up, he saw Su Qianxi clutching her belly and looking at him pitifully. Li Xiqing smiled and ruffled her hair. Let's eat first. When Nanny Rong saw the couple walking down hand in hand, her eyes widened and she blurted out, "So fast?" Li Xiqing's face suddenly became gloomy. "Wan Lily, ha ha ha, Mr. Li, so fast?" Chapter 2:15. It was 7:00 in the evening, and the abandoned factory in the east of the city was deserted. In a place where there weren't many people, a van that was neither old nor new slowly drove into a place that couldn't be any more ordinary. The hunter took out a camera in the dark and connected it to Qing Yu's remote device. "Prey in the net." "Roger that." The van gradually came to a stop, and a woman whose entire body was wrapped tightly got out of the van. Wearing a mask, a hat, glasses, and a long-sleeved chiffon shirt that was out of season, and a pair of sneakers, he slowly walked to a corner. About 3 minutes later, the heavy sound of a motorcycle came. The sound of a top-of-the-line motorcycle was very eye-catching. A man got off, took off the protective cover, and whistled. Just like Tang Menjing, he did not notice that someone was ambushing him. "Hey, what are you afraid of by wrapping yourself up like this every time? It's not like anyone will find out." "Cut the crap. Where are the things?" "Pfft, you have no sense of humor." He threw an envelope into Tang Menjing's hand. "It's not easy for me to Photoshop these things. You have to pay me more. You will die because of money sooner or later." Tang Menjing opened the envelope and saw the photos. She smiled with satisfaction. "Where did you find this man? He's so ugly." "You don't know him? He is the most popular guy on Weibo, and he likes to post these kinds of photos in bed. I just spent some money to buy some that have not been leaked yet and then changed the faces of these women. Well, good technique. I can't tell that it's Photoshop at all." "Of course. Where is the thing you want to add?" "Here. Remember to add it. Then, Li Xiqing will not be able to deny it." "Okay, I will add it when I get back. Remember to pay me. I can't do without you. You have to know that I am risking my life to do this for you. Remember last time, Lao Jin was tortured by Li Xiqing. If this is exposed, I will die a worse death than him. Are you afraid? Then I will ask someone else to do it. Come on, we have been working together for so long. Just give me 1 or 2 million, and I will do it for you." "Blackmail? 1 or 2 million?" The hunter thought that Tang Menjing would turn around and leave, but she said, "I will need you. Just do your job well, but are you sure you will be safe?" "Pfft, don't worry. In terms of hacking skills, I can guarantee that no one in the whole of China is better than me except for that Z. That's good." "Well done." "Okay." The two quickly said goodbye. Tang Menjing opened the door of the van and sat in the back seat. The man put on his hood and prepared to leave. Relieved, the hunter put the camera away, pressed the pause button, and put the camera away carefully. However, just as he was putting down the camera, his elbow accidentally touched the box next to him. The broken box quickly fell down, and in an instant, a large number of things fell down with a crash. Tang Menjing was startled, and so was the man. He shouted, "Who's there? Show yourself." The hunter, greatly frightened, rose and ran as soon as he saw them coming. Tang Menjing was so scared that her face turned pale. She shouted, "Stop! Quick, chase after him." Chapter 2:16. The hunter had never been so embarrassed. He thought that the task was completed and he could leave. Unexpectedly, at the last moment, he was tricked by himself. Running at the fastest speed in his life, the hunter did not dare to look back, but the sound of the motorcycle was getting closer and closer. The east of the city was a remote industrial area. After running out, there were very few cars coming and going. Seeing the sound of the motorcycle getting louder and louder, the hunter panicked even more. In the process of running, the hunter turned around and threw his precious camera at the man on the motorcycle. "Give it back to you." The man on the motorcycle was shocked. He did not expect this guy to be so ruthless. He tilted his head down, and the camera flew past his helmet. He hurriedly got out of the car and found the camera. However, he found that the place where the memory card should have been was empty. There was only a broken camera left. What the F***ck? Throwing the broken camera, the man on the motorcycle got in the car again and chased the hunter. Stepping on the gas, the distance between the hunter and him was shortened in an instant. What to do, what to do? The hunter felt that he was about to suffocate, and his legs were terribly sore. This feeling of extreme life and death was constantly stimulating his nerves. Can't stop, can't stop. Just after that, a sports car suddenly drifted and stopped in front of him. The door was opened, and a female voice came, "Get in." Without much time to think, the hunter jumped on the door, slammed it shut, and shouted, "Hurry up." Qingyu was not slow. She changed the automatic gear to the maximum and shouted, "Sit tight." Her opponent had a superb motorcycle, and her was just an ordinary four-wheeled sports car. At this time, she could only compete with her skills. The hunter was about to respond, but suddenly he was almost flying, lying on the airbag in front of him. Qingyu's speed was so fast, and behind the car, the man on the motorcycle was chasing her. The speed of the superb motorcycle was far faster than their car. What to do? The hunter was full of guilt. He could only blame himself for being too careless. Looking ahead, he looked at Qingyu and asked, "Miss Qing, do you have a tissue?" Qingyu was a little impatient and shouted, "Find it yourself." The hunter did not dare to say more. He rummaged in the car and finally found a box of tissues, reaching out to open the window. Qingyu was a little angry. "Are you crazy? Do you know what you're doing?" The hunter ignored Qingyu's roar, tore up a few pieces of paper towels, opened the window, and scattered them. The biker followed closely behind them. He was extremely fast and was caught off guard by the paper towel. He shook his head in disgust. She suddenly knew what he was going to do. When the man's speed slowed down slightly, the car drifted, deliberately bumped, rubbed, and got stuck. Bang! There was a loud noise, and the man on the motorcycle swayed from the impact. However, with his driving skills, he didn't fall. When he steadied himself, he quickly went to check if his beloved bike was damaged. By the time he came back to his senses, the bike had already pulled away from him, and its speed was even faster. If he continued to chase, he definitely wouldn't be able to catch up. Fu**k. The man on the motorcycle cursed and took out his phone to call Tang Menjiang. They ran away. How could that be? Is this how you do things? I spent so much money on you, and this is how you treat me? A shrill voice came from the other side of the phone. The biker picked his ears impatiently. What else can I do? She's already gone. What else can I do? Chapter 217. I've been discovered. When he received Qingyu's call, it was already past 7 p.m. He put down his chopsticks, and his eyes became even colder. What do you mean? Qingyu briefly told him what had happened and then said, "Fortunately, the hunter got the memory card back." "Give it to me." "Yes, sir." When Qingyu and the hunter arrived at the house, it was almost 9 p.m. Su Qianxi was sitting on the sofa playing on the computer, while Li Xiqing was dealing with unfinished work. Hearing the doorbell, Su Qianxi got up to open the door, and Li Xiqing stopped working. As soon as they entered the door, the hunter felt a little unable to face the boss, shrinking his neck and standing far away. Qingyu directly handed the memory card to Li Xiqing. Using Su Qianxi's computer, Li Xiqing opened the video file and the memory card. The more he watched, the more gloomy his face became. Su Qianxi poured water and gave each of them a cup. Curiously, she came over. She happened to hear what the man said. Remember what Li Xiqing did to Lao Jin last time? Li Xiqing gritted his teeth and clenched his fists. His eyes were cold and full of malice. Lao Jin. He could only think of one person with the surname Jin. So, that Jin guy was very likely sent by Tang Menjiang? His first child with Su Qianxi, was killed by Tang Menjing? Li Xiqing looked to the side. Su Qianxi's face was pale, and her lips were pale. Biting her lower lip, she stared at the computer screen. Seeming to feel Li Xiqing's gaze, Su Qianxi looked over. Seeing his deep eyes, her heart raced. Li Xiqing found that she was looking at him with expectation, hesitation, and struggle, but no surprise. It's her. Su Qianxi's voice was a bit hoarse. She played an important role in our child's death. You already knew? Li Xiqing's face darkened. Why didn't you tell me? If he had known, Tang Menjing would never have lived so freely. I just found out, Anne. Su Qianxi looked down and chuckled self-deprecatingly. Would you believe me if I told you? Li Xiqing's expression darkened. Staring at her, he asked, why not? Su Qianxi looked up at him, feeling complicated. Why would he believe it? Would she rush up to him and tell him loudly that Tang Menjing was actually the murderer of their child and that Tang Menjing was up to no good? Would he believe it? He wouldn't believe it. She had done this kind of thing before, hadn't she? He had been sick of this kind of thing countless times, hadn't he? In her previous life, she was suspected and spurned by everyone because of this. In this life, she didn't want to repeat the same mistakes. It was good enough that he didn't say anything, wasn't it? Seeing that she did not speak, Li Xiqing's eyes darkened and he said, You are my woman. Why wouldn't I believe you? Su Qianxi's heart was like a bell, suddenly ringing and lingering. His woman, he actually said that she was his woman again? This was the second time. The first time was when she was being bullied by those rich ladies, and he had appeared to protect her. The second time was under such circumstances. So, was he serious? Could she take it seriously? Once this identity label was attached, she would never want to take it off again, forever. At this time, Li Xiqing's phone rang. There were only 2 words, Luo Zhan. Chapter 218. Li Xiqing's heart suddenly sank. He opened the page as quickly as he could and clicked on the first trending topic. It was a striking title, Li Xiqing's wife is not satisfied, meets male prostitute late at night. Insatiable desire? Meet a male prostitute late at night? Nonsense. Li Xiqing slapped the table. Li Xiqing's wife has no desire at all. Qingyu suddenly realized something and looked at Su Qianxi. Su Qianxi suddenly blushed and tugged at Li Xiqing. On the other side of the phone, Luo Zhan also choked on his saliva. After a while, he said, Bro, there's a lot of information in your words. Li Xiqing was speechless. But I've already deleted all the photos and replaced them with your wedding photos. There's only the title, so it shouldn't be much of a topic. Sure enough, when he scrolled down and clicked on the pictures, he saw that they were all refined wedding dresses. Su Qianxi's facial features were extremely beautiful. When Li Xiqing took this set of wedding photos, his face was always cold. If Grandpa did not force him, she had no doubt that he would definitely turn around and leave. However, why do you have this kind of picture? Oh, I took it from your wife's computer. Luo Zhan didn't care. Su Qianxi's eyes widened. This guy had hacked into her computer? F***CK. Can't you have some privacy? Moreover, was it really okay to say such a wicked thing out loud? Li Xiqing scrolled and found that the topic was from 10 minutes ago. There must be someone behind it for it to become a trending topic so quickly. Who is it? Did you find anything? Of course, I'm Z. The hunter's eyes widened. No way, really? Luo Zhan heard another person's voice and immediately got angry. Are you on speakerphone? Yes. Damn, who's next to him? My wife, my assistant, and a stupid hunter. Li Xiqing's fingers flew over the keyboard and he quickly posted. Luo Zhan still wanted to say more, but suddenly exclaimed, You actually posted on Weibo. My wife will be meeting on October 15th. All major media are welcome to visit. F***ck, you even posted a picture of her kissing. You are declaring war. Li Xiqing curled his lips. Yes. He was declaring war. Tang Menjing had opened Weibo happily, wanting to see the effect of her money. He believed that now, Su Qianxi must have become a street rat. She wondered what Li Xiqing's expression would be like now. However, after looking around, he could only find a topic about Su Qianxi, Mrs. Li's fan meet. Clicking in, the first post was Li Xiqing's Weibo. The attached picture was a beautiful picture of a kiss. The quality of the picture was not very high, so it must have been taken with a cell phone. The background was the blue sea. Su Qianxi was wearing a red off-shoulder gown, blushing. She was holding Li Xiqing, and he was kissing her lips passionately. Tang Menjing's breathing became shorter and shorter. She screamed and smashed the computer. Bastard, bastard. Mrs. Tang immediately ran in and yelled, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" Seeing her mother, Tang Menjing immediately burst into tears. "Mom. What should I do? What should I do? I can't wait for that day. I'm going to tell the world now that the baby in my belly belongs to Li Xiqing." Chapter 219. After Li Xiqing posted on Weibo, Qingyu received a call. Qingyu's English was very fluent, and Su Qianxi was secretly shocked. Combined with what had just happened, Qingyu's reaction and processing speed were also amazing. No wonder she could stay with Li Xiqing for so long. In her previous lifetime, she stayed with Li Xiqing for 8 years. After they got married and had children, Li Xiqing was reluctant to let her go and paid her a lot to stay. Qingyu's ability was not bad. After answering the phone, Qingyu looked a bit gloomy and called, "Boss." "Yes, something happened in the US?" "Yes, Mr. Stay is not in good health. He hopes you can go there in a few days." "Mr. Stay?" Su Qianxi recognized the name. When Li Xiqing was studying abroad, Mr. Stay was his mentor. Because he lost his son in his middle age, he almost treated Li Xiqing as his own son. Occasionally, when Li Xiqing had time, he would go to the US to visit the old man. Su Qianxi remembered that in her previous lifetime, the old man's death seemed to be around this time. Li Xiqing was silent for a moment and looked at Su Qianxi. "You go," Su Qianxi said before he said anything. "The old man can't wait. The sooner, the better." "Okay." Li Xiqing stood up and kissed her on the forehead. "I'll be back as soon as possible." "Boss, do you need me to go with you?" Qingyu asked. "No, you stay in Kingstown. You have full control of the company. If you can't solve it, call me." "Yes. In addition, follow up on the press conference." "Okay. Thank you." Qingyu heard that and shivered. This. Big Boss was actually saying this to her? Qingyu could not accept it and immediately said, "Of course." Su Qianxi pursed her lips and said, "I'll go pack for you. Let's go together." Qingyu and the hunter were a bit embarrassed, and the hunter said, "Then I'll go first." Qingyu nodded. "I'll take you to the airport." Upstairs, she dragged out the suitcase and said, "Remember to eat on time. It may be a bit cold in the United States now. I will put some thick clothes for you. Remember to change into them when you are cold, Anne." Before she finished, she realized that the man next to her had bent down and hugged her from behind. Su Qianxi's face suddenly burned. "What else?" Li Xiqing's voice was a bit low. "Say it all at once." As he spoke, he turned her around. His eyes and brows were so gentle that she couldn't help feeling a ripple in her heart. Su Qianxi blushed. Thinking that she would not see him for a few days, she put her arms around his waist and looked up. "Also, come back soon." With a smile in his eyes, he pecked her lips. "Yes, honey." Hearing his playful words, she blushed even more. Pushing him away, she turned around and started to pack her clothes. She was very efficient and quickly booked a ticket to New York. The nearest flight was 2 hours away. She drove the car over and waited for more than 10 minutes before she saw Su Qianxi walk Li Xiqing out. However, when he reached the door, he suddenly stopped, put down his luggage, took her in his arms, and pressed her against the door, unwilling to let go of her. Qingyu blushed and her heart beat faster. She wanted to cry but had no tears. Chapter 220. After kissing for a long time, he reluctantly let her go. Lock the door and windows. Be safe at home. Okay. When Nanny Rong comes tomorrow, ask her to move the things in your room to our room. Okay. Stay at home and wait for me. Okay. I'm leaving. Okay. He reached out and rubbed her hair affectionately before picking up his luggage and walking to her car. Su Qianxi watched him leave, feeling sweet and empty. She entered the door and locked it. She went back to her room with her laptop and found there were several missed calls. Louis Han had 2, and Song Yifan had 3. She called Louis Han back immediately, but no one picked up. She hung up and called Song Yifan, who quickly responded, "Hello, Su Qianxi. Uncle Song. Are you free? I have something to talk to you about." "What is it?" "Are you free on the 12th? How about going on a music tour with me in the capital?" "The capital?" "Yes, probably on Friday afternoon and back on Sunday afternoon, which is the 14th, Song Yifan said. Fearing that she would refuse, he quickly added, "If you don't have time, it's okay." "Sure," Su Qianxi interrupted him. "Li Xiqing is not at home, and I'm bored at home." "Really?" Song Yifan looked surprised. "I don't have classes on Friday afternoon." "What time?" "How do I get there?" 3 in the afternoon. "I'll book a ticket for you." "Okay. That's settled then. See you then." Hanging up, Su Qianxi curled her lips. She did not know if it was an illusion, but Song Yifan seemed to be trying to please her. Was he also doubting her? That she was very likely to be his daughter? Lying on the bed, Su Qianxi stared at the white sky in a daze. Father, what a distant word. When he arrived at school the next day, many people looked at him differently. Su Qianxi turned a blind eye to the eyes around her. Before class, she picked up her phone and opened Weibo. She didn't know it until she opened it, but when she did, she found that the so-called male prostitute incident had long been forgotten, and the topic of #Mrs. Li's meet and greet had become a trending topic. A girl deliberately sat next to Su Qianxi, glanced at her phone, and suddenly touched a pen next to Su Qianxi. Pata! The ballpoint pen fell to the ground, and the girl immediately bent down to pick it up. She quickly apologized, "I'm sorry, classmate, I didn't mean it." Su Qianxi tilted her head and smiled at her. "It's okay." The girl pretended to be surprised and exclaimed, "You are Su Qianxi?" "Yes." "Oh, I'm so honored to see the legendary Mrs. Li. I heard that you're going to hold a meet and greet in a few days. I wish you success." "This is too fake." Suddenly, a sharp voice came from behind him, full of disdain. "If you want to participate, just say it. What are you pretending for?" The girl was a bit embarrassed and looked at Su Qianxi. She thought that Su Qianxi would be as cold as a few days ago, but unexpectedly, Su Qianxi just smiled and said, "If you have nothing to do, come and participate." As soon as she said that, the eyes of many girls in the class brightened, and people quickly gathered around. Su Qianxi took out a stack of invitations from her bag. "I didn't prepare a few days ago, so I didn't invite you. These are the invitations. You can bring your partners." The pile of invitations was like a piece of fat meat. In this group of hungry wolves who had been eyeing it for a long time, it was soon divided up. Su Qianxi always had a smile on her lips, and deep in her bright eyes, the light of wisdom flickered. Women were the most gossipy creatures, no one else. In this war without gunpowder, the loser would easily lose their reputation. Chapter 221. Perhaps because of the invitation, Su Qianxi was invited to the cafeteria by a lot of girls after class. This was the first time she had tried to interact with her classmates. At the beginning, Su Qianxi felt a bit awkward. However, after a few days, she actually felt good. Time flew, and it was Friday. After class at noon, Su Qianxi waved her hand and declined her classmates' invitations. Yang was already waiting at the door. Su Qianxi went home to pack her luggage. After eating something, she looked at the time. It was not yet 1 p.m. However, when she was about to leave for the airport, she received a surprising invitation. Su Qianxi looked at Tang Menjing, who was obviously rounder than before. She slowly stirred the coffee in front of her but did not drink it. She just looked at her quietly. Tang Menjing took a sip of the freshly squeezed juice in front of her and seemed to sigh. I did not expect that we could still sit face to face like this. I really miss the old days. I don't know when we started to change. Hearing that, Su Qianxi curled her lips. She had been hurt so badly in her previous lifetime. If she did not stay away from her, would she wait for her to frame her? Su Qianxi did not speak. I looked at her with my dark eyes, as if I was looking at a retard. Tang Menjing could not stand the look in her eyes. She could not keep her composure anymore. She leaned forward and said, "Today, I asked you to come out to tell you a piece of great news." Su Qianxi looked at her. The look in her eyes changed from that of a retard to one of pity. She sighed and said, "What is it?" That tone, that expression, it was extremely helpless. Tang Menjing was suddenly angry. Obviously, Su Qianxi had not done anything. So far, she had only said one sentence, but it had really pissed her off. Seeing that Tang Menjing was obviously angry, Su Qianxi smiled and said, "You asked me to come out on this occasion. It must be something big, right?" This was a coffee shop, but it was not quiet at all. People were coming and going. As long as something happened, it would be spread quickly. Seeing that Tang Menjing finally fell into the trap, Tang Menjing smiled with satisfaction. This was Su Qianxi. Nothing big. It's just that, maybe I was one step ahead of you. 2 months ago, when I was on a business trip with Brother Sicheng in Australia, we did it. Although she already knew what she was going to say, when Su Qianxi heard this, she still felt a sharp pain in her heart. The hand holding the coffee spoon slightly tightened. That phone call had always been a thorn in her heart. But he had said it, hadn't he? She was his first and only woman, wasn't she? So, she should believe him, right? Su Qianxi's movement was very subtle, but Tang Menjing caught it clearly. With a happy smile, she said, "When Brother Sicheng is in bed, he is really different from usual. He is very passionate. Is he the same to you?" Su Qianxi's hand that was stirring the coffee paused. "Don't be angry, you can't be angry." Tang Menjing's intention was too obvious. She wanted to irritate her, on such an occasion. If it were in the past, Su Qianxi would have immediately jumped up, picked up the coffee spoon, and poured it on Su Qianxi's face. She might even have grabbed Su Qianxi's hair and scolded her for being shameless. At this time, many people were staring at her. Mrs. Li, if such news was spread, then Li Sicheng and even the entire Li family and the Li consortium would be pushed into the teeth of the storm. Chapter 222. Su Qianxi knew that she was not particularly smart. However, she was definitely not stupid. Facing Tang Menjing's gaze, Su Qianxi looked unexpectedly calm. She seemed to be sarcastic. Really? Her voice was very calm, as if she really did not care. Tang Menjing did not see what she had expected and felt a bit uncertain. She suddenly felt that she could not see through Su Qianxi. Su Qianxi was getting smarter and smarter. Obviously, this was not a good thing for Tang Menjing. No one spoke again. After a minute or two, the atmosphere was indescribable. Tang Menjing finally couldn't stand it anymore. She seemed to be struggling and said, Su Qianxi, I think it's better to tell you something. What is it? I am pregnant, and the baby is Brother Xicheng's. Su Qianxi looked slightly surprised, put down the coffee spoon, and looked at her. Seeing that she finally had a reaction, Tang Menjing continued, now it is almost 3 months, and the baby already has a heartbeat. It is a boy. Families like the Li family attach great importance to their children. They certainly do not want their children to be illegitimate. So, Su Qianxi, can you please help me? I know you must be very angry now, but please don't be impulsive. Brother Xicheng also cares about this child, but he does not want you to be sad, so he asked me to tell you. He hopes that you can let him go. Su Qianxi did not speak, but the more she listened, the more she felt it was funny. This woman was really unscrupulous in order to annoy her. Seeing the sneer on Su Qianxi's lips, Tang Menjing said tentatively, you know, he said that he has never touched you. I am the only one he loves. When she said this, Tang Menjing stared at her. Sure enough, hearing this, Su Qianxi's eyes flickered slightly. It was just a flash, but it was real. Tang Menjing was ecstatic. Really? Did that mean she was the only one Li Xicheng had slept with? God, what a surprise. Thinking of that night in Australia, his voice and his body, Tang Menjing's heart could not help racing. She couldn't help saying again, you know, he likes to enter me from behind, and it hurts me every time. However, since he knew I was pregnant, he has been much gentler. Brother Xicheng is really a good man. Andy told me last time that Brother Xicheng doesn't like you very much and can't accept you. That's why he came back to me again and again. Every word made Su Qianxi's heart ache. She didn't know, she really didn't know. What position did he like? What attitude did he have? However, she could not believe what Tang Menjing said. In his previous life, he had been cheated and treated as a fool. At least, she knew that Li Xicheng was not one to lie. So, he wouldn't lie to her, right? Su Qianxi convinced herself, and her eyes became colder and colder. She crossed her arms and looked at Tang Menjing with a sneer. Do you know what delusional disorder is? This was paranoia. 80% of the women in Kingstown want to bear my husband's children. You have seduced him so many times. If he likes you even a little bit, he will not be able to resist. Anne. Su Qianxi stood up, approached her, and whispered, what he hates the most is the position of entering me from behind. Seeing Tang Menjing's face instantly darkened, Su Qianxi felt relieved and said in a low voice, that way, he will feel like he is sleeping with a bitch. It is very perverted, don't you think? Tang Menjing was furious and roared, what do you mean? This Su Qianxi dared to call her a bitch. Su Qianxi stepped back, smiled elegantly, picked up her purse, and said gently, I still have something to do. I'll go. Whether he hated it or not, she did not know. However, she did it on purpose. Chapter 223. Tang Menjing was so angry that she wanted to catch up. Su Qianxi waved her hand and said, waiter, she's paying. The waiter immediately stopped her and asked her for the bill. After leaving the cafe, Yang drove her directly to the airport. Song Yifan had been standing at the gate of the airport. Seeing Su Qianxi getting out of the car, he let out a sigh of relief and went up to her. You're here. Yes, I was busy, so I came late. Why are you waiting here? The sun is so bright. Song Yifan smiled, feeling a bit embarrassed. He quickly went to the back seat to help her with her luggage. Yang was a bit surprised, but at the same time, he felt a sense of crisis. This old man couldn't be thinking of hitting on their madam, right? No, he had to tell his boss. After Su Qianxi and Song Yifan entered the airport, Yang immediately called Li Xicheng. Song Yifan's band was not only famous in China, but also internationally. They were undoubtedly proud of themselves. Although they did not say it out loud, they were still a bit dissatisfied with Song Yifan's sudden request to invite a young girl to the concert. However, the moment they saw Su Qianxi, they all understood why Song Yifan would invite her to such an important concert. This girl in that photo. After entering the airport, Su Qianxi met Song Yifan's teammates one by one. She found that they were unexpectedly easy to get along with. When they arrived at the capital, it was dusk. The air was gray and hazy, completely different from the green and fresh air of Kingstown. As soon as they got off the plane, someone came to welcome them. Although it was said to be a welcome, it was actually a social event. Song Yifan knew that Li Siqing had protected Su Qianxi very well and probably rarely attended such events. He proposed to take her to rest, but Su Qianxi declined. After 3 rounds of drinks, the host looked at Su Qianxi and asked, "This is?" "Su Qianxi, brought here by our team leader." Su Qianxi. That person was obviously not a caveman. Recently, the thing between Su Qianxi and Li Siqing had been a hot topic, so he had already recognized her. "Mrs. Li?" "I am." Su Qianxi nodded. "Nice to meet you. I didn't expect you to come to the Imperial City." "I'm really flattered." What surprised him the most was that Song Yifan and Su Qianxi actually had a relationship. Song Yifan was not married yet. This relationship was intriguing. Follow Uncle Song to broaden your horizons. Oh. The man smiled and quickly changed the topic. It was already 8 or 9 o'clock in the evening when the social interaction ended. Song Yifan booked a luxury suite for Su Qianxi, which made his teammates who could only live in single rooms sigh. Of course, she did not know about her special treatment. After a slight surprise, she settled down. The next day, Song Yifan took her to the Imperial Grand Theater. After looking around, she felt a bit itchy, so she borrowed a backup instrument from the violinist in the band and began to play along with them. Her first favorite instrument was the piano, and her second was the violin. At the end of the song, he realized that the music around him had stopped, and everyone was looking at him. Chapter 224. The people in the concert hall were all their own people, and each of them was a master. Su Qianxi blushed at the compliment. "Really good." Song Yifan walked over. "How long have you been studying?" 3 years, 4 years, of course, it was learned by the previous generation. To be able to reach this level after learning for 3 to 4 years, talent. As expected of. The zither player chuckled and looked around, but she didn't point it out. Everyone around her knew what she meant. Song Yifan heard what the violinist said and blushed. "Another one? Let's play together." "All right." After one song, Song Yifan and Su Qianxi had a tacit understanding, as if they had worked together before. It was hard to believe that they were in sync. "All right." The violinist clapped her hands. "That's great. If it wasn't for the fact that Brother Song isn't married, would have thought that you were his daughter." Su Qianxi heard that and glanced at Song Yifan. "Don't talk nonsense." Although he said that, he couldn't hide the smile on his face. It was obvious that he liked to hear this. Everyone present knew Song Yifan very well. Someone immediately shouted, "Now that you mention it, it does look like him, especially the shape of the face and the shape of the mouth." "Look." Yes, it really does look like it." "Look at this, doesn't it look like the photo in Brother Song's wallet?" "Yes, could it be?" Everyone turned to look at Zhang Xian. Su Qianxi smiled and did not speak. Afraid that she would be upset, Song Yifan said, "Don't say that. Her mother's surname is Su." "Follow my mother's surname?" "Where's your dad?" Song Yifan glared at someone who had a big mouth. She didn't care and said frankly, "I don't have a father. My mother left me at the gate of the orphanage when I was a child." "Ah, so miserable." "That's great. You don't have a father. Brother Song has always wanted a daughter. Why don't you take him as your godfather?" "Bah, your godfather." Don't you know that godfather is very ambiguous nowadays? Our brother Song is a very good person. If you want to call someone, you should call him godfather. Come, call me godfather. Call him godfather, call him godfather. The jeering got louder and louder. Song Yifan was a bit annoyed and said, "That's enough. Qianxi is my guest this time. The concert is about to begin. Stop making a scene." Guests. Does that mean they will perform on stage? Someone's eyes lit up and asked. Qianxi's violin skills are no worse than Anna's. Why don't you try? What do you think, Qianxi? Looking at them, Su Qianxi was a bit nervous. Will it bring you trouble? I'm afraid I can't do it well. Moreover, in this kind of occasion, shouldn't it be especially important? If this thing was destroyed by her, what should she do? No, don't be nervous. When the time comes, just follow my rhythm. The violinist said with a face full of righteousness. Don't worry, you're pretty good. I have high hopes for you. To be honest, she also wanted to give it a try. Even in his dreams. In her past life, it was impossible for her to have such an opportunity. Now, should she seize it? It's okay. Song Yifan looked at her. If you are nervous, don't go on stage today. There is a public performance tomorrow morning. I'll go. Su Qianxi blushed, her eyes sparkling. I want to give it a try. Can I? Seeing the nervousness and desire in her eyes, Song Yifan smiled and naturally reached out to rub her head like he was coaxing a child. Silly girl, of course. Dash. Chapter 225. The intimate gesture made Su Qianxi's neck stiffen. Looking up, she saw Song Yifan's eyes shining with love. He really treated her as his daughter. Su Qianxi felt something hit her heart. An indescribable feeling slowly spread from the depths of her heart to her eyes. Father. A strange name. She had been longing for it for more than 20 years. Su Qianxi did not resist his gesture and nodded. Seeing such a scene, everyone looked at each other and smiled. No one dared to say anything more. In the concert hall of the Capital Grand Theater, the audience was all senior leaders and ambassadors from other countries. After listening to the performance, there was a thunderous applause. Su Qianxi could hear everyone praising Song Yifan even when she was backstage. Was such a person really her father? In October, it was a bit cold in Kingstown at night. After Li Weiya and Tang Mengqing finished the hot pot, they walked back to their dorm, talking and laughing. Suddenly, Tang Mengqing received a call. I am in the woods on the left side of the school. Come here. Someone. Tang Mengqing heard it and turned around. Weiya, you go back first. I have something to do. But it's almost time, you go back first. It's fine. Okay. Li Weiya turned around, but the more she thought about it, the more she felt something was wrong. It was so late. Did Tang Mengqing have a boyfriend again? Last time, her miscarriage had caused a stir in several families and the school, which had greatly damaged her reputation. She had tried so hard to suppress it, and she hoped that it would not go wrong again. Thinking about it, Li Weiya still followed her. In case she did not get along with the boy, she could go up and make peace with him. Unexpectedly, after Tang Mengqing walked into the woods, she sneaked up to a van. The van looked very ordinary, but for a girl from a rich family like Li Weiya, it was a bit shabby. Tang Mengqing's boyfriend turned out to be this kind of person? What a lack of self-respect. Li Weiya was a bit angry, followed her, and found that Tang Mengqing had gotten into the van. The window of the passenger seat was not closed. When Li Weiya was hiding next to the van, she heard a familiar voice. Ask Li Weiya to give this to Su Qianxi. Tang Mengqing? How could it be her? If she wanted to see Tang Mengqing, did she have to be so sneaky? Tang Mengqing asked, lipstick? Why did you give her lipstick? That bitch is so disgusting. This is a mixture of aphrodisiac. As long as she puts it on, it will inevitably go into her mouth. The effect time is about an hour, and I am afraid the press conference is only halfway through. If she does a striptease in front of everyone, don't you think it will be wonderful? Tang Menjing's voice was cold and resentful. Her vicious words made Li Weya shrink slightly. Li Weya was stunned. Tang Menjing usually looked gentle and pretty, and she was very nice to people. Moreover, wasn't her relationship with second cousin brother very good? Why did he want to harm second sister-in-law? The information contained in these words was too much for her to handle, and it was too terrifying. Tang Mengqing was a bit excited. Really? My gosh, sister, you are so awesome. I wonder what Su Qianxi will do. If she really loses face in front of those distinguished guests, even old man Li won't be able to protect her. Chapter 226. The last concert was in the morning. After promising Song Yifan that she would go on stage, Su Qianxi got up early and put on some light makeup. She picked out a dress that she could wear to the event. Su Qianxi thought that today's concert would be similar to the one last night. However, when she arrived, she realized that it was a music conference. The people who came were all musicians that Su Qianxi had only seen on TV and in the news in her previous lifetime. So many big shots. When Su Qianxi followed Song Yifan's band in, she felt like she was dreaming. Song Yifan greeted them one by one. Many foreign friends gave him warm hugs and kissed him on the cheek. Many people noticed Su Qianxi's face. Song Yifan only said that she was a young man and wanted to broaden his horizons. However, inadvertently, Su Qianxi seemed to feel someone looking at her. Looking sideways, she found it was another acquaintance. It was a tall man wearing a sapphire suit and a ruby bow tie. His tall figure strode over, looking gentle and elegant. Long time no see, Mrs. Li, Bo Xiao. Su Qianxi was a bit surprised but soon felt relieved. Bo Xiao had already made a name for himself in the music conference. Since even she could come, why couldn't he? Mrs. Li, you still remember me. I am honored. Bo Xiao raised his glass and looked at Song Yifan. Mr. Song, so you two know each other. Song Yifan's kind smile faded the moment he saw Bo Xiao. I did not expect that you two know each other. I've met him once. Song Yifan curled his lips and said, not a good thing. Rarely seeing Song Yifan so sharp, Su Qianxi could not help but look at him a few more times. Bo Xiao spread his hands and looked innocent, but he still maintained a gentleman's smile. It seems that Mr. Song has some misunderstanding about me. May I know why? Song Yifan did not speak, but the female violinist next to him said in a slightly dissatisfied voice, I heard that Mr. Bo already has a fiancé, but you still have a girlfriend. This really makes people doubt your style. Su Qianxi is married, and I hope you can behave yourself. Bo Xiao felt a little innocent. A helpless smile flashed across his deep, dark brown eyes. I'm so wronged. Has the outside world already spread rumors about me to such an unbearable level? Mrs. Li. Bo Xiao, you are here. A pretty figure came up and took Bo Xiao's arm. I have been looking for you for a long time. You. When the girl saw Su Qianxi, she paused and her eyes darkened. Su Qianxi was a bit scared, but she still nodded with a smile. So you have friends. The exchange is about to begin. Let's go back to our seats. Bo Xiao looked down at the girl beside him. His eyes were no different from when he looked at other people. He replied lightly, okay. Then he raised his eyes and introduced, this is my fiancée, Rong Anna. Rong Anna greeted everyone with a smile, but when she looked at Su Qianxi, she. Chapter 227. Bo Xiao glanced at her and said softly, my dear, it's an illusion. Rong Anna frowned, turned around, and found that Su Qianxi was surrounded by a group of people. With a smile on her face and light makeup, her facial features looked more delicate and soft, like the girl next door. Seeming to feel that Rong Anna was looking at her, Su Qianxi quickly followed her gaze and smiled at her. Rong Anna raised an eyebrow and chuckled. It's really an illusion. They do look a bit similar, but there are many people who look like this. It is inevitable that you will have this illusion. Yes. At the music conference, many famous artists would perform on stage. While playing, Su Qianxi could not help but feel nervous. Before they went on stage, it was Bo Xiao. Bo Xiao and Rong Anna went on stage together. Bo Xiao was playing the piano, and Rong Anna was playing the violin. The song was melodious and meaningful. It was one of Bo Xiao's favorite songs. Obviously, the cooperation with Rong Anna was not so good. Because Su Qianxi had heard him play better. Finally, it was their turn. Su Qianxi's mind was blank the whole time. Originally, she was worried that she would be embarrassed because of nervousness. Fortunately, the audience was very enthusiastic, and no one seemed to notice her sudden appearance. The conference soon ended, and Song Yifan's band undoubtedly became the hottest topic. Su Qianxi silently hid behind Song Yifan, quietly being a beautiful woman. After saying goodbye to the famous artists at the airport, she was able to get on the plane back to Kingstown. Today was October 14th, we are back. We will arrive at Kingstown at 5 p.m., yes, according to the original plan. Out of the airport, Su Qianxi declined Song Yifan's offer to take her back and stood at the gate, waiting for Yang. However, 10 minutes later, he had not arrived yet. Su Qianxi's phone rang. It turned out that the car had broken down for some reason and could not move on the highway. Su Qianxi had to find a taxi herself. The airport was not far from the villa area, only half an hour's drive. However, the driver took her for more than 40 minutes. Seeing the increasing amount on the meter, Su Qianxi suddenly understood something. Sir, please hurry up. It's too late. Okay. In the end, the driver did not take her home but left her at the intersection a few streets away from the villa area. The reason was that he ran out of gas. She was annoyed and angry. Dragging her suitcase, she resigned herself to her fate and walked home. It was already past 6:00 in the evening. It was the beginning of autumn, and the sky darkened earlier and earlier. Su Qianxi walked back, and it was already dusk. It was dinner time, and there were not many people on the street. As she walked, she felt someone was following her. His footsteps paused for a moment as he looked back. There was nothing out of the ordinary. She turned back and continued, but the feeling became stronger. Su Qianxi became vigilant, picked up her phone, and dialed 110, ready for any emergency. Dragging her luggage, when she turned the corner, she suddenly felt a rush of breath behind her. Then she was hugged, and the strong smell of alcohol hit her. Su Qianxi, at Hua. At Su, and Qiu, King, Su, and Qi, and, at, and. Chapter 228. Su Qianxi was pushed to the ground, and her white and delicate skin was quickly scratched. Hearing the clanking sound of the belt, Su Qianxi was even more shocked. What did he want to do? She couldn't be so unlucky. Enduring the pain, Su Qianxi got up from the ground and rushed to the entrance of the alley. However, the drunkard's reaction was extremely fast. Dragging her by her clothes, he threw her into the alley. The alley was very dirty, and there were glass shards on the ground. Su Qianxi was thrown into the alley, feeling a burning pain on her back. However, Su Qianxi reacted quickly. Picking up a larger piece of glass next to her, she threw it at the man. Get out of my way. The drunkard's face was red, and his face was covered with a long beard. His clothes looked a bit old and white. Seeing the long piece of glass in Su Qianxi's hand, he chuckled. Little girl, you are so tasty. His voice was dry and hoarse, as if he had not drunk water for decades. It was extremely unpleasant to hear. Slowly approaching, Su Qianxi's body trembled, and her voice trembled. Don't come any closer. If you come any closer, I will kill you. Pfft, every woman says that, but in the end, they still get F***ed. Be good, and I can be gentler. Su Qianxi was scared, trembling slightly. Waving the long piece of glass in her hand, she tried to drive him away. However, this drunkard was obviously a habitual offender. With a lewd smile, he suddenly jumped at her, not afraid of her glass at all. The long piece of glass pierced his arm, and bright red blood suddenly flowed out. Su Qianxi screamed and quickly let go. However, the drunkard took the opportunity to take the glass away and put his stinky mouth on her. Su Qianxi almost threw up and screamed, "Help, get out of my way." "Qianqian?" A slightly puzzled voice came from outside, and it was extremely familiar to him. Ihan, help." Su Qianxi's voice was filled with tears. Pushing the drunkard away, she also stretched out her legs to resist his invasion. Su Qianxi's suitcase and cell phone were at the entrance of the alley. Lu Yihan immediately rushed in and saw a dirty back. His anger was ignited. Lu Yihan grabbed the man and flung him away. Then his fist landed on the man's face. However, the drunkard was obviously not a pushover. He quickly fought back and the two of them wrestled into a ball. Su Qianxi quickly got up and was shocked. For a moment, she did not know what to do. "Qianqian, go first." "Ugh." Lu Yihan was punched hard and fell to the ground. Lu Yihan was a computer nerd, and there was no way he would be a match for this habitual rapist. She was so anxious that she was about to cry. Suddenly, she had an idea. She found a long piece of glass and stabbed it at the drunkard. However, the drunkard glared at Lu Yihan and twisted him. He could clearly feel the glass piercing into someone else's flesh. Su Qianxi was so stiff that she could not feel anything, staring at the scene in front of her. Lu Yihan covered the side of his abdomen. Bright red blood kept dripping from the place he covered. Just above it, there was a piece of glass sticking out, which was shocking to see. Seeing this, the drunkard was shocked. He pushed Lu Yihan away and ran away. As the drunkard ran away, Su Qianxi could not hold it anymore. Overwhelming fear swept over her, as if there was a hand pressing her to the ground. She did not know what to do. Chapter 229. She killed someone, and it was her best friend who had been killed. What to do, Su Qianxi's vision blurred. She opened her mouth, trying to breathe, but her throat was choked. She did not know where she got the strength from, but she lifted Lu Yihan up and let him lean on her shoulder. Feeling his pain, Su Qianxi's heart was terribly empty. Tears kept flowing, blurring her vision. "Hang in there. I'll take you to the hospital." "Hang in there," sobbing, she almost couldn't hold back and burst into tears. Nothing could happen to him, nothing could happen to him. However, before he reached the end of the alley, Lu Yihan could no longer support himself and fell down. Su Qianxi was dragged by his weight and fell uncontrollably, almost crushing him. Screaming, she finally couldn't hold it in and cried out, "Lu Yihan, don't die, you can't die." Lu Yihan covered his abdomen and said helplessly, "Silly, it's not my heart. I won't die." But it really hurts. Seeing that he was still in the mood to joke, Su Qianxi let out a sigh of relief. She wiped her tears and stood up. "I'll go get someone. Hang in there. Don't die, don't die." She quickly ran away. Lu Yihan's consciousness gradually blurred. Inadvertently, he seemed to see a figure standing by the window not far away, looking at him with a piercing gaze. It was already 10 minutes later when they arrived at the hospital. After some emergency treatment, Lu Yihan's life was no longer in danger. Fortunately, although the glass had pierced 3 centimeters into his abdomen, it just avoided his intestines and did not cause any irreparable damage. Hearing the news, Su Qianxi finally felt relieved. The phone rang. It was Li Xicheng. "Not home yet?" Li Xiqing's first sentence was. Su Qianxi looked at the time. It was already past 9 p.m. Nanny Rong had just called her 3 times, saying that she had something to do and asked her to get off work. She did not expect that the news had reached Li Xiqing. Hearing his voice, her heart, which had been frightened for a long time, suddenly calmed down. Go back early. Nanny Rong is very worried about you. He was worried about her, too. Su Qianxi pursed her lips, feeling wronged. She had so many things to say to him, but he was in the U.S. When are you coming back? Hearing the grievance in her voice, Li Xiqing curled his lips, feeling a little better after a few days of depression. He responded in a low voice and said calmly, tomorrow. Are you still in New York? Yes, teacher has passed away. As his disciple, I should help him with his funeral arrangements. Old Mr. Sterry's funeral was today. Unfortunately, her meet and greet was tomorrow. It would take at least 12 hours to get from New York to Kingstown. That would be difficult. Thinking that he might not be able to make it back in time, he felt a bit guilty and added, have a good rest. I will try my best to be there for the press conference tomorrow night. Oh. She was a bit disappointed. Then I'll wait for you to come back. Diamond. Someone on the other side of the phone called his English name. Okay, he answered. Go back early and wait for me. When I get back, let's hold a wedding, how about it? Make up the wedding? Su Qianxi was dazed, thinking that when she married him, it was just a simple dinner with 2 families, which was a bit shabby. However, she did not expect that it was Li Xiqing who brought it up first. She was ecstatic, but she pretended to be reserved. Is that necessary? Yes, I want everyone to know that you are Li Xiqing's wife. Chapter 230. Li Xiqing's eyes were filled with affection. After saying goodbye and hanging up, he found there were 2 missed calls and a text message. It was from Tang Menjing. How about we talk? Li Xiqing ignored it, locked the screen, and threw the phone away, turning around to continue his work. Louis Han's injury was not life-threatening, but it was not light either. After the surgery, Louis Han fell into a deep sleep. He was stabbed because he tried to save her. She could not leave him alone. However, after all, they were alone, and she was married. It was definitely not a good decision to stay with him for one night. After looking around, she found his cell phone. He pressed the power button to light up the screen, and a gentle and beautiful face appeared on it. When she was in high school, she was a bit rustic. She had an afro and dyed her nails in various colors. She liked to put a piece of gum in her mouth and enjoyed being called Sister Qian. Only he dared to correct her with a normal point of view. She was very impatient at that time, but unconsciously, he changed her into a normal person. This was a photo of her when she was in the 3rd year of high school. Her eyebrows were still a bit immature, and her chin was a bit chubby. Her hair was tied in a ponytail, and her eyes were not looking forward. The pixel was not high. 3 years ago, the pixel was not as high as today's. However, when was this photo taken? Su Qianxi was surprised to see her photo and looked at Louis Han on the bed. Without glasses, his facial features were clear. His slightly pale face was slightly slanted, and his breathing was even. He would use her photo as his wallpaper. What did that mean? Su Qianxi vaguely felt that she was overthinking. She shook her head and swiped the screen, only to find a password. She had no choice but to wait for Louis Han to wake up. However, as she waited, she fell asleep. When she woke up, she was lying on the empty bed in the ward, covered with a blanket. She suddenly woke up and looked around. It was dim, and the lights had been turned off. However, the light outside the window was breaking. She searched around and found her cell phone. It was already past 5 a.m. Oh my God! Su Qianxi exclaimed, waking up Louis Han in the next bed. He looked up. What's wrong? Ah! I actually slept here. She was very regretful. God, how could I fall asleep? Louis Han breathed a sigh of relief. I thought it was something important. She was a bit annoyed and quickly thought of something. She asked, why am I sleeping on the bed? Did you pick me up? Uh-huh. Louis Han propped himself up with a look of disgust. I didn't expect that after so many years, you would gain weight again. You almost crushed me to death. F***ck. She couldn't help cursing. I'm only 94 pounds. I'm not that heavy. Oh, I thought you weighed 50 kilograms. Shut up. She quickly put on her shoes. Call your brother to take care of you. I have to go. I have a press conference today. Okay. Louis Han nodded, but he couldn't help but feel sorry. It wasn't easy for me to get on your good side, and I wanted to show my face at your press conference. I didn't expect that. I can't go now. There will be a chance. She rolled her eyes. Soon, my husband will hold another big event for me. What occasion? Wedding. She felt sweet inside and deliberately kept him in suspense. I'm not telling you. I'm leaving. Seeing her leaving, Louis Han's eyes slightly dimmed, looking down at his cell phone. You're tuning in to the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.